Now we're going to download and install CapCut on our computer. I'm going to take you through the process first on Mac and then on Windows. But once it's installed, the process of using it is pretty much exactly the same, whether you're on Mac or Windows. So on Mac, you want to head over to CapCut.com. There's going to be a button here straight away that says download for Mac. Now you want to make sure here that we're definitely downloading this software onto our computer and not using the web-based version of CapCut. The two are very different. So we're going to choose download for Mac. It's going to ask us where we want to save this. I'm just going to save it under downloads. Hit save. If we then go ahead and open up our download folder, so come down the bottom here to this menu bar, we're going to right click on downloads and we're going to choose open downloads. So we can see we've got our file here. I'm just going to double click on it to run and install that. We'll have the app then pop up like this. We can double click to run this file. We want to choose open, and that's going to go ahead and install it for us on our Mac. Once it reaches 100% here, it's going to ask us to choose our language. So we're going to choose English. We'll hit save. And then in most cases, it's actually going to open up the app for you once that's done. So you can see it's opened it up for us here. But we can also now find it down here under our applications. And then we've got access in here too. So that's the process for installing on a Mac. Over on Windows, the process is pretty much exactly the same. We want to open up our web browser. We want to head to the website CapCut.com. And again, you'll have a button here to download for Windows. So we're going to press on that. That's going to start the download for us. We can see up the top here. When that's done, we can open that up. We'll have to select yes to start the install. And it's going to go ahead and download and install CapCut for us. It's going to then ask us what our preferred language is. So I'm going to select English. I'm going to hit save. In this case, it's going to run a quick check to gauge the performance of your computer to see what features and things you can have access to and how well CapCut's actually going to perform on your system. So it says here, your computer can run CapCut smoothly. We want to confirm that. And then it's automatically opened up CapCut for us. Now at any time, if we want to find CapCut to open it manually, we can just hit start and we can start to type in CapCut in the search box at the top here. And here is our CapCut app that we can launch from there as well. Now we're going to take a look at the CapCut interface to help you navigate your way around and find everything. Now, while I'm showing you this on a Mac, everything is laid out exactly the same on a PC, on Windows as well. So this is what you'll see when you first open up CapCut. If you're not signed in, you'll have the option up here to do that. Now you don't actually need to have a CapCut account. You can create a free account and that can help you with backups, backing up your files to the cloud and those sorts of things, but it's not required. You'll see I'm not currently signed in. Down below that, we've got two buttons. One is the home button. That's going to take us back to this main home screen here. And the second one will open up some templates and things that we can use and customize up to make videos based on those templates. Now, this really isn't something that I tend to use, but it could be a way that you are able to replicate some of the videos from these templates really quickly for yourself. So let's go back to the home area here. Up in the top right-hand corner, there is a little settings button in here where we can access a lot of the app specific settings. And I will dive into this in another video, but this is how we can access it from here. You can also access a lot of these things from the app menu across the top here as well. Now, one area that CapCut is actively building out and it's changing all the time is this tools area across the top here. You'll see that we're now seeing an option here, script to video. This on the mobile version, they are building out and adding so many apps, and we're starting to see those come across to the desktop apps too. So it's likely that when you've opened the app here, that you are seeing some more tools and apps in here as well. And I personally think that's awesome with how fast these guys are rolling out new features and new tools, all to help us make better videos faster. So right now in my current version, we've got script to video, which is an AI tool to help you script and write your videos. But let's go ahead and check out the rest of the CapCut interface. To do this, we're going to create a new project up here. And this is then going to launch the main CapCut editing interface. And you can see straight away it's broken down into these separate areas. And we have the ability to change the sizing of these to best maximize your workflow, your screen size for what it is you're actually doing at that time. So maybe if you're adding in a bunch of effects and things, you might want to make this effect area larger so that you can see all the different options. If you're working heavily on the timeline area down the bottom here, then you might want to stretch this up so that it's bigger and easier for you to work in. Now, one other thing I do want to note before we dive into each one of these areas in a bit more detail is that if you are using a computer with multiple monitors, then you can actually enable multiple monitor mode with this little button up the top here. So if we press on this, we can choose the default layout, which is single screen. That's what you're seeing here right now. But we can also enable a media first, player first, adjustment first, or timeline first mode. And first is really meaning like the priority. So if we're going to do a lot of work with our timeline, then maybe we will enable timeline first. Again, if we're using multiple screens, and that in this case has moved the timeline over to our second display so that that is maximized. And we're left here on our main screen with all the options and menu bars and tools and things. So I love that you can customize this up. I'm going to go ahead and turn that back here to single screen mode or default layout. But up here in the top left-hand corner, this is where we can access things like our media. So all of our video assets that we're using in our editing project, we can import them here. We can manage them, see them all, access them all from here. We've got access to CapCut's built-in music and sound effects here, text, stickers, effects, transitions, filters, adjustments, and templates. All of that stuff we can quickly access up the top here. The player, this next area here, this is where we'll be previewing back and playing back the video masterpiece that we are creating. So this is your video player. Now this next one across here, this is currently showing us details related to our editing project. So it's showing us things like where the project is saved, the frame rate, the aspect ratio, and we've got some settings and things in there too. There's a modify button here for us to modify our project settings. And again, I'll cover this in a dedicated video around setting up your project. But while this is showing details right now, as you go through the editing workflow, you're going to see different things appear in here. So if you've got a specific video file selected, then you're going to find settings and details around that video file up in this area too. Down the bottom here, this is the main editing tool in here. This is your video editing timeline. This is where we're actually going to be editing, trimming, adding effects, all of that fun stuff. The magic happens in this bottom area down here. And there's different tools and things that we can access here too. So we can zoom in and out with this slider. We can change the way that our clips and the timeline behave together with some of the tools and features across here. We have the ability to record audio, record voiceovers directly into our project, into our timeline here with this next button. And then over on the left side here, this is where we can access a lot of our editing tools. So for instance, if we hit this little drop down arrow here, you can see that we can change between a selection tool, the regular mouse cursor, and a split tool. We've got different ways that we can select and modify and edit and trim down our clips. That's this area of the interface. And we've also got your undo and redo buttons here as well. And then going back to the top right-hand corner here, we've got direct access to open up our keyboard shortcuts. So this is one way that we can speed up our editing workflow, is instead of diving into menus and finding different buttons and clicking on those buttons constantly, we can actually create a more streamlined workflow by just pressing a keyboard shortcut, a button on the keyboard that's going to perform a specific task. So this isn't something that you need to learn or master right away, but there are some really powerful keyboard shortcuts that will speed up your workflow. And you can even customize these up for your liking as well. Next to that, we've got our share button. This will allow us to directly upload and share our video files to places like YouTube, TikTok, and others. And our export button here will let us save out our video and save it to our computer. So that's a run through of the CapCut interface. Before you dive into CapCut, start editing, it's a really good idea to run through some of the CapCut settings to make sure that everything is set up on your computer for the best performance, but also for peace of mind with things like automatic backups. So you want to dive into the settings area first. And you can access that by coming up the top here to CapCut, down to settings. There's also a button over here on the right that says settings. We can open it that way. Or if you're on Windows, there is a menu button at the top. You can select on that and then choose settings. So we're gonna go ahead and open that up now. And you can see that this settings area is broken down into different categories or different tabs. So we've got project, edit, performance, and language. We'll start off first with the project one. In here, we can choose where our video projects are actually going to be saved on our computer. Now, in a lot of cases, you might find that just leaving this as default is okay, but this can take up some storage space over time. So you might need to move this to an external drive if you're running out of hard drive space. So we can actually specify the folder here. If we press on the little folder icon, we can then go through and pick a folder or an area on our computer where we want all of our projects to be saved. I'm just going to leave that here as default. We can also specify our media download folder as well. So CapCut has a bunch of media effects and things in there that you can download and use from your computer, but they need to save them somewhere. So that's where we can specify this as well. Again, we can press the folder. We can choose where we want to keep these cached files, these temporary files. And usually, again, I just leave these as default unless I really have to move them. So I'm going to hit cancel. And then we've got some settings in here around our cached files. So our temporary, our downloaded files that are related to a project and need to be there when you're working on a project, but they really are just temporary files that afterwards can be removed. So you actually have options in here to automatically delete and to clear out your cached files every 30 days is the default. Now we can actually change this if we'd like to, or we can again leave it as default, which would be my suggestion here. Don't delete the cached files because you have the ability to come in here at any time and clear out that cache, delete those files just by pressing the little trash can icon here. This way you're in control and things aren't being removed without you knowing about it. So I'd much rather leave these as default here and you come in and clear it out when you need to. But I think it's really important that you know how that works, where these files are saved and where you can clear them out, because over time, if you're not clearing this out, it could actually take up a big chunk of your hard drive space on your computer. So that's the project tab. If we move over to edit, this is where we can customize up the editing interface and how editing actually happens in CapCut. Again, for a lot of people, these specific settings here are good to know about so that you can come in and customize things up as you get more advanced, but you're likely going to want to leave these as default unless you specifically need to change them right now. So we've got the ability in here to customize up how many frames we're able to step forward or jump back as a default amount of frames if we're moving around our timeline. So the default here is set to 10. Likewise, the default is set to 10 for our settings adjustments as well, but we can get more granular with this. If you'd like that chunk to be bigger, we can make it larger, or smaller, we can make it smaller in here too. One that I really think people should be aware of is this image duration. So if you're creating videos that do have a bunch of photos and graphics and images in there, like maybe an image slideshow, you can actually set the default duration of how long that image is going to be played for, how long it's going to be on screen up front. So you can make that adjustment here in your settings, and that's then going to be applied to every image you bring in. That could save you a huge amount of time. So the default here for that is 5 seconds, but if we wanted to drop that to 3 seconds, we can just make that adjustment here. One setting that you should really make sure is correct here is your frame rate. So if you're creating videos where your camera is recording at 30 frames per second, then we want the default here to match that for the primary footage or for the bulk of the footage we're going to be editing. So we want the two to match. Likewise, if you're creating videos and your camera is recording in another frame rate, 25 frames per second or 60 frames per second, we want to specify that here. So again, that it all matches. For the best quality videos, our camera settings need to match our editing settings, need to match our export settings so that we're not losing quality or changing stuff on the way through. If we jump over here to performance, these are some settings you want to make sure are enabled if they are supported on your specific computer. Having these settings here for using hardware encoding and hardware decoding mean that you're going to have the next level of performance using your computer hardware to speed things up. It's also worth noting if you aren't using a really powerful computer, so it's an older computer, then you might need to turn these off for better performance. So you can see I've got my mouse over this area here now, and it says unselect this or turn it off to avoid exporting issues caused by incompatible drivers. So best case scenario, you're leaving this on for extra performance, but if you are having issues, especially around exporting, then you want to uncheck this to fix those problems. But it will mean that you'll likely lose some performance at that point too. Now we can also specify here if we are going to be using proxy files, so lower quality versions of our regular footage to take the load off our computer to make everything run a bit faster, we can actually specify where those temporary proxy files are actually being saved. And again, just like the caching, we can clear that out here too. Now, this is another one where for most people, you can just leave this as default unless you're specifically wanting to use a proxy-based workflow to, again, speed up your performance on an older computer. And the last one here is language, very self-explanatory. You can change up the language of the interface, the menus and everything if you need to, but you also selected this at the time of install, so this one should be already correct. Once you're done making your changes, you definitely want to hit save to make sure that everything is applied, and then you're good to go. Now it's time to create a new project and to get everything set up ready for editing. Now, while I've said in an earlier video that you don't need to create a CapCut account and sign in, there are some benefits if you do. There's some good cloud backup options. There's the ability to transfer your projects between devices. So I personally think it is a good idea to sign in and to create a free account. Even if that means that you're not going to upgrade to the paid account, that's not a problem. We're still getting access to more features and more controls just from signing in with a free account too. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to come up here to sign in. And then we've got some options to either sign in with a TikTok account if you've got one, or there's some other ways on screen here too. I'm going to sign in with my Google account, and that is done now. And we can see that we're logged in here up the top. And then we'll go ahead and create a new project. So we want to make sure that we're on this home screen here, and then we're going to hit this big button at the top here, new project. But we want to make sure that it's set up correctly. We want to do things like give it a name and specify the video format so that we're good to go in every step we take from here. So over on the side here, we can see our project details. We want to come down here to modify so that we can make changes to these. So we've got name here. We're going to give this project a name. We're going to create a video around thumbnail images. We then get to choose here. Do we want to keep our media, so the video files and music and stuff that we're going to use, do we want to keep them in their original place, wherever they're originally saved on our computer? Or do we want to copy all of our files that we're using over into the project itself? For me personally, I like to leave them in place because I've likely got them filed away somewhere, which is a logical place for me to come back and find them later. So I'm going to keep them in the original place. We then get to choose the aspect ratio or the type of video that we're going to make. So in this drop down here, you can see, is it a 16:9, so regular widescreen video? Is it a 9:16, so a portrait video? Is it a 1:1 square video for something like Instagram? We can select all of this up front, but know that you can come back and change it later as well. So if you do want to start out with a widescreen version of a video for YouTube, and then you want to repurpose it as a short or as a TikTok video, you can change this later as well. The other option you've got here is to leave this set as original, and that's going to analyze the first video file that you import, and it's going to adjust your settings accordingly to match that video. So if your first video that you import is a widescreen video, 16:9, then CapCut is going to set our project up to match that for us. But in this case, I'm going to select 16:9 because that is what we actually want here. We can then specify our video resolution. And again, the default setting here, adapted, is going to be taken from or adapted from our first video file that we import into our project. So in a lot of cases, as long as that first video file that you're importing into your project is what you actually want to use when you're saving out your video, then you can leave these first two here as default. But we can also go ahead and choose customized in here, and we can specify the size of the video that we're creating. So is it 1080p? Is it 4K? We can adjust all of that here. So we can leave this here as 1920 by 1080 because that's the widescreen aspect ratio for 1080p. From here, we can make changes to our frame rate if we need to. If you've gone through a previous video we went through the app settings, then this should already be set to be correct for you. But know that on a project by project basis, you can actually customize these up as well. And so again, we got options, everything from 24 frames per second right up to 60 frames per second. And ideally here, this is matching what your primary footage was. So what settings did you have in your camera? What frame rate were you recording at? We want to match that in our editing as well for best results. So I'm going to leave this at 30 frames per second. For most videos, this color space setting is going to be correct unless specifically you've recorded HDR content, high dynamic range content, which is an option on more professional cameras and even some of the latest iPhones and things, you can record HDR footage. So if you have shot HDR footage and you're going to be editing HDR footage, then you can specify here the type of HDR footage you've got. So again, your project files are matching your camera settings. So with that all set up, we can hit save, and our project then is set up ready for us to import footage and to start editing. Now to start your video editing, you'll want to import your video assets. So for this, you want to make sure that you are over here on this media tab. And then you can see, because we have no media already imported, there is a button here for us to import videos, audios, and photos. So we can just press on this and then we can navigate through and find our files that we want to add. So I've got a folder here on my desktop and I've got 2 video files in here, which you guys can download to follow along with this video I'm going to be making. So I can select those, I can choose import, and those 2 files are now added into our project. Now, if I just undo this by hitting undo, or if I select them and choose delete, we also have the ability to drag and drop our files in as well. And this will again work on both Mac and Windows. So you want to open up a Finder window or an Explorer window with the clips that you want to import. We can then just select them and drag them here into our project, and we can import that way too. And what we're seeing here right now is our local files that we've imported here. So there's this little drop down here, local. That's currently what we're seeing, things that are actually stored on our computer. But there's other categories or groups here as well. So we've got here spaces. So spaces are where we are signed in with a CapCut account, paid or free. We can actually have access to our cloud-based files as well. So if we're working on a project and we back it up to the cloud, we've got some video assets that we want to use in a lot of different projects. We can save them into our CapCut Cloud space, and we can access those files from here too. The next one down here, library. In here, there are some video assets that CapCut gives you access to use in your projects. So if you scroll down here now, you can see the types of things that are in here. Different graphics, some green screen effects and things. And while it's nice that they include these in here for you to use, I would be very mindful or very careful using these, because you are opening yourself up to some potential copyright issues if you don't have the correct licensing on some of the different platforms that you might be posting this on. So wherever possible, I want to know that I'm compliant and that I own the license, instead of relying on things that might have come through a video editing tool or application. So in terms of other video assets like this, that's where Storyblocks is a great option. Motion Array is another good option. Video Hive, Placeit. A lot of those will have a lot of different video assets that you can download and use in your projects, knowing that you own the license, that you're going to be compliant. But the next one below here, brand assets. This is where we can add images and videos that are going to be used in multiple videos. So if we've got files or media that we use in lots of different projects, then we can have them all saved here so that we can easily access them between the different projects as well. But let's come back up here to local. We've got our 2 files here that we have imported already. We can actually change the view on this too. So we're just on the grid view here at the moment. We could change this to a list. We can also adjust the sorting here as well if you need to. And obviously this applies more when you've got a bunch of footage in there. And we can also adjust the filtering here. So right now we're showing everything, but if we only wanted to show the video files, we could select that from the drop down here too. And we also have the ability to search for a specific file. Again, when you've got a lot of stuff in here, it's going to be easier to navigate through and find stuff with these options. I'm going to switch this one back here to grid view. That is my preference. Now with these 2 clips that we have imported, now we can also click in the video here in different areas to again bring up our preview of that point. So we can play through, we can scrub through and work out if this is the clip that we actually want to use. But in order to start working with these files and to start building out our video, we won't just want our files imported into our project, we actually need them imported into our timeline down the bottom here. And it even says here, drag material here and start to create. So let's grab this first clip here. Let's click and drag this down here into our timeline area. We can then see that we have a preview of our timeline up here. We can also see that with this clip selected, we're now getting other controls and things that have shown up. So we can make adjustments to that clip, and we can add as many of these clips to the timeline as we'd like. Let's say we want this one here, down here as well, playing after our main clip, then we can just drag that down afterwards. So with these clips, we can pick them up, we can move them around, so we can change the order on them. Maybe we'll change that back. We can also layer them up on top of each other as well. So let's say that this extra shot here, this clip of scrolling through YouTube, let's say that we wanted to have that playing on top of our main footage here. We can just click and drag that up and position it above that clip. And now if we were playing through this clip here, we're now going to still hear what's happening underneath it, but we're now seeing this clip over the top. So it's almost like these little Lego blocks or Tetris blocks that we can pick up, move around and manipulate to get the look or create the video, create the story that we're after. Now, if I go ahead and remove this clip now, so I want to select on it, I can press delete on the keyboard and it's gone. There's also a little trash can icon here we can press to remove it. But let's say that instead of bringing down this entire clip, let's say that I only wanted to bring down a small piece of it. Let's just select on this clip. Again, it's going to start playing, so we can pause that here. But what we have up the top here is these little handles that appear on either side of this clip. So we have the option to bring down the entire thing as we did, or we can actually draw out or map out a section of that video by using these handles. So we can grab the one on the left side here and we can choose a new start time. So let's say we want it to start around here, and we can also adjust the end time or trim off the end here. We can do that up here. We can drag this back, let's say to about here. And now when we click and drag this down to our timeline, or we press the little plus button here, it's going to add this to our project, but it's just that section that we mapped out, not the entire clip. Now, my suggestion here is to focus on adding in your primary video footage first, get all of that into the main timeline area. Once we've then gone through the process of removing all the bad takes, the mistakes, and building out the story of the edit, that's when we'll want to go through and add in your B-roll, your overlay, and graphics. Okay, now it's time for us to start editing, to start cutting down our videos. And the goal here is to go through, remove all the bad takes, all the mistakes, anything that you don't want to have in the finished video. This is the core of video editing. And what you'll find with CapCut and most other video editing tools is that there's actually a few different ways for you to do things. So I'm going to take you through the different methods that you've got to cut down or to trim down your videos so that you understand the tools that you've got access to in here, because sometimes it's going to make sense to do things one way and other times it's going to be much faster to do things another way. So at this point, we've got our main video footage here on the timeline. Again, you can download these resources to follow along if you'd like. But you can see with the preview that we're given here with our video clip, you can see the video piece at the top, and then underneath that, we've actually got our audio waveforms. So that little graph thing across the bottom here, this is the visual representation of what's been said or the audio that's in our video. And we can actually use this to our advantage if you're cutting down a video like this, because it's easy to see then where I'm speaking or where there's content. So we can easily see the areas where nothing is happening, that we can quickly remove those. I also want to quickly draw your attention to some of the settings up here, because these will be critical for this section as well. By default, with most of the editing that I do in CapCut, I leave my settings enabled like this. So I have on here, this first one, the track magnet, that is enabled. The next one here, auto snapping, is also enabled, and we can tell that they're enabled because they are a blue color here. And I also have linkage enabled as well. And I will explain what these do, but for right now, you want to make sure that those are all enabled exactly the same, or you might start to see things that are a little bit different happening in your timeline versus what I'm doing here. It's also worth pointing out while we're over here that this slider bar here, we can use to zoom in and out on our timeline. And the closer we are zoomed in, the more detail, the more granular we can get when it comes to us positioning our cuts, but also to see what's going on with the audio as well. We get a lot more level of detail the more we're zoomed in. And lastly, before we get to these editing tools, I want to stress here that again, CapCut is ever evolving, more so than any other tool that I have used before. And that's a really good thing, but it does mean that sometimes things move from where they were previously. So right now, the location of some of these buttons and things that I'm going to show you, this is where they currently are right now. But you might find over time that CapCut has moved these around a little bit. I'd say they're likely going to be in a similar area. They're very unlikely to remove features. So you know that this stuff I'm showing you, you'll still be able to find in there. But already for me, some of these icons and some of these features here have changed as recently as in the last week. So the functionality is all still there, but some of these options here that I'm going to run through used to be hidden here under this little drop down arrow, whereas now they're out here. So much easier to access. And the last thing to note is this white line here. This is known as our playback bar or playback indicator. So if we just hit play on our clip now, world's best video, but if you can see that that moves along as we play the video. So that shows us at any point where we're currently at, what we're previewing from our video. Or we can actually click and drag across this bar area here to skim through or scrub through our footage, jumping to different areas faster. So I'm just going to scroll back across now to the start of our video here. Let's hit play and let's see what we're working with so we can start to trim it down. All right, we are recording. Let's check the microphone. 1, 2, 1, 2, test. Okay, so let's pause it there. Already, this stuff at the start, we're likely not going to want to use this in the end of our project. So we can start to see I'm running some checks and things here. I'm running some more checks here. And it looks like the content doesn't start until over here, where I'm talking consistently. So this is what we're talking about, using these audio waveforms. So we could either just play through this until we get to that point, or we can speed things up a little bit by grabbing this playback head and let's put it just before there. And now let's hit play. Let's confirm that that's actually where we want the video to start. You could have the world's best video, but if no one clicks on it, no one's going to see it. Okay, so that sounds like that's the start of our video. So we can remove everything that happens before that piece here on this video. There's a few different ways for us to do this. If we click on our clip here, then over on the side here, we now have handles, which we can grab and we can adjust our start and end time of each of these clips. So with this clip selected, let's come across to the left side of it. You'll see our cursor changes from an arrow to this other icon here. If we click and drag back to the right here, then we're adjusting where we want this clip to start. So let's put it to around here. Just before I start talking, let's release the mouse button. We've now trimmed that section off. So now if we come back and play the very start of our video, you could have the world's best video. Right, we're starting at the start of the video. I'm going to undo that. Now there's undo buttons up here, or you can use Control Z or Command Z on the keyboard to undo that. Okay, so we're back with our original footage here now. And let's say that we want to, again, start our video clip at this point. Another way that we can do this is we move this playback head or this playback indicator to where we want our clip to start. We want to make sure that we have our clip selected here. So we need to click on it. And then we can come up here to this little icon here. This is our split clip button. If I press on this, and you can see the keyboard shortcut for it is Command B or Control B if you're on Windows. If we press on this, it's going to split our clip in two. So you can see now we've got two separate clips here on the timeline. We can just select that first clip. We can then press delete or backspace on the keyboard, or there's also a delete icon here as well. If we press one of those, it's going to remove that clip for us and delete it. So if we come across now and play our video, you could have the world's best video, but if no one clicks, it's now starting from exactly that point too. Okay, so that's the second way that we can start to trim down our footage. Let me go ahead and undo this again and again. So we have no cuts in our clip. We can actually speed up that cutting or slicing of clips too. There is functionality in here where we can switch between the select mode, which is the arrow mode that we're on here now to select different clips. We can come up here and we can switch to the split tool. This is also known as the blade tool. And you can see the keyboard shortcut here for it is B to switch between the blade and A for the regular arrow. So if we click on this and we enable this split mode, you can see our cursor has changed. And all we need to do here is go through, and every time that we click now on this clip, we're adding cuts to our timeline. So this is another fast way that we can go through and add cuts around our timeline, around the areas that we want to remove. And then when we switch back to the arrow select tool, by pressing A on the keyboard or selecting here, we can then go through, select the clips that we want to delete, press delete, maybe this one here as well, and we're able to remove those quickly too. All right, I'm going to go back here and undo this again because there's still a few more methods that I want to show you. So let's go undo, 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 lots of undos. Okay, so we're back at just our original clip here now. And again, we want our video clip to start around this point here. We could do any of the methods that I've just shown you here already. We could trim, we could click and drag, we could use the split tool or press Command B on the keyboard to add a cut and delete it. Or there's actually a really powerful tool here, which is next to split, that does all of those things with one mouse button press or with one keyboard shortcut press. So the options we have here are delete left and delete right. So if we're looking at our timeline here, and we've got this playback marker here where we want the clip to start, and we want to remove everything to the left of that, with one button press, we can click delete left, and it's going to remove everything back to the previous clip from wherever that white playback marker was. Now, a cool thing about this is it actually works back the other way as well. So let's just say that we had a cut in our timeline here. So we can press Command B or Control B to split our clip at that point. And let's say that we're back here trimming down this section of it. But we've realized that we actually don't want anything in here, and we want to jump straight from the end of this clip here to this next clip. Again, we could add a split, we could select the clip, we could delete it, or we can press this other button here, delete right, and it's going to do all of that for us instantly, super fast. And you can most certainly use these all in combination as well. So there'll be some times where it's just easier to click and drag to shorten a clip. There'll be other times where you'll need to add a cut and maybe trim to the right, or delete to the right, or delete to the left. The idea here is, again, knowing what tools you got access to so that you know then which is the best one for you to edit this down quickly. But I want to quickly mention these other tools up the top here so that you can see how they can impact these tools that I've just shown you. So snapping is the first one I'm going to show you. That's the icon here in the middle. We can turn auto snapping on or off. And by default, I leave it on most of the time. But we can see what happens with this playback indicator here. As we move it close to the cut or the join between these two, it's going to snap into place, right? So we got close and it just jumps across for us. That's what snapping is. Let's say move this playback head over to here and let's try to trim down this clip a little bit and let's move it across, and with snapping enabled, it's going to snap to that point for us. If we turn off snapping, so it's not on at all now, as we do the same thing, say we were trimming back to get close to that, it's not snapping at all. It's not jumping across there for us. So if you need more control without it automatically jumping to wherever that playback head is or snapping to the next clip, the next cut, then you can turn that on or off there. Now I'm going to undo these changes that we've made, and I'm going to turn snapping back on now. The next one that you really need to understand is this magnet here. So right now we have the magnet enabled, which means that it's automatically going to close up gaps in our timeline for us. So for example, if I grab this clip here and I try to move it over to the right and just to have it sitting there, so there was a bit of a gap, maybe we need to move some clips down, we're not quite working on them yet. But if I do this with the magnet enabled and I let go now, it's going to suck it back to our previous clip. So there is no way that we can add gaps in our timeline with this magnet enabled. So if we disable that now, so we turn off the magnet, now if I pick up a clip, I can actually put it wherever I like. So if we've got some clips on here that we may need, may not need, but we just want them out of the way for right now, then we can pick them up and we can move them further back or out of the way. But this magnet also comes into play when we're actually editing down our footage too. So let's just come over here and let's add a split in our timeline at this point. So we can cut it here, and let's come across and add another cut about here. So we've now got 3 clips here. Let's delete the middle one with the magnet not enabled. So magnet's not on. So I'm going to press delete here to delete that. You can see that the magnet hasn't sucked all the clips back together. It hasn't removed the gaps for us. So there are definitely times where you will want the magnet on, and there are times when you will want the magnet off. Likewise with snapping. What you'll likely find is for this trimming down of your footage, you'll usually want to have those on because it's going to make the process faster for you because it's going to close up all of those gaps. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on now, magnet, and you can see it's now sucked all of our clips back, so there's no more gaps. So at this point, you now understand the different ways that you can trim down your footage, then we can start editing. So we want to go through now, we want to cut down this clip to remove all the bad takes, all the double ups, all the mistakes, so that we're just left with the core content. Now it's time for us to add in any B-roll or overlay footage onto our video project. So at this point, we've already gone through, we've got our primary footage down here. This is known as your A roll. Now we're going to add in B-roll, which is the overlay footage, the stuff that sits on top of this. So it's not that we're going to replace our clips here in our timeline, we're going to overlay some clips on top of it so that we're still able to hear the clips underneath and easily switch between them, essentially, as we build this out. So the first thing you want to do here is come up to this media area here, make sure that that is selected. You want to go ahead and either import the clips into your project that you want to use. So we can again hit this import button here, navigate through, find our clips. I'm going to be using this screen recording file here, which I have already imported into our project. Now there's a couple of different ways that we can approach this. I could literally bring this whole clip down into our project here just by clicking and dragging this down. We can see it's much longer than our project, and I can drop it here on top of our video. So it's on its own separate layer. So right now it hasn't replaced this footage underneath it. It's sitting on top of it, meaning that this is now B-roll or overlay footage. So even if we scrubbed through or played through this now, you would still hear what's happening down here, but what we're seeing on screen is this other clip on top of it. Now this B-roll clip that's been imported, it's treated the same as any other clip, so that you can see that we can still easily trim it down. With it selected, we can add cuts or splits into it. We can pick up the chunks of footage and we can move them around as if that was regular footage. We also don't need to import the whole video like I have here. If I select on this and delete it, and I'll delete this clip here as well, instead of just clicking and dragging this entire clip down, we do have the ability here just to use the handles here on the sides of the clip to draw out or to select out an area that we do want to use. So let's say we only wanted a small section of the clip here in the middle. We can then click and drag that section down, and we're only going to import that piece. Again, there's lots of different ways that you can essentially do the same thing with video editing. Another way that we can map out a section here, let's just stretch this back out so it's in the entire full clip here. We can also play through our footage here. So because this is selected, this is now previewing this clip instead of our timeline. We can switch between it. If we click down the bottom, that's now our edited video here. But let's come back up here. Let's select our B-roll clip and we can play through or click through here to find the area that we actually want. So let's say that we wanted our clip to start about here. Let's pause this here at that point. We could then try to grab this handle and drag it across to that point so that it matches perfectly, or we can actually press I on the keyboard and that's going to mark an in point for us. So where we want this clip to start. You can see then it's automatically started playing this clip here as well. So let's just say we want to jump forward a little bit here. Let's click along a bit further. Let's play it from here to work out where we want it to stop. Let's just say that we wanted it to stop about here. Let's hit pause. We can then press O on the keyboard. So I for in, O for out. We've marked our in and out points. We've selected our section here. We can then click and drag that down to the timeline from there. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this here. So what we're going to do now is start to bring in some of this B-roll footage so that it lines up with what we're talking about in the video. And we're going to build this out in real time so you can see how I would approach it. I'm going to leave this first clip here for now. In that first clip, I likely want to bring up some titles and things to create some engagement. Maybe we will want some B-roll there too, but I'm going to leave that first little chunk here, the first 10 seconds here for now. Let's jump to this second clip. So let's play through this and let's hear what's been said. So to help you with this, you need to make sure that your thumbnail images are grabbing people's attention, that they stand out on whatever platform you're posting them on. Your thumbnail. Okay, so we need some footage here that indicates that there's maybe a lot of options on the platform. We need to make our thumbnail image stand out. So let's come up here to this clip and let's stretch out our selection here. We could just click through to find the area that we want. We could again hit play and play through the entire clip. But what I like to do with this to be able to scrub through it quicker is to click and drag this, and let's just put it down a little bit further in our project. So let's just drop it down here. Now, if we go across here, then if we click and drag across the top, you can see that we have so much more control over previewing the clips. So there's not much happening at the start of this here. We're now scrolling YouTube. So again, this clip could fit. We probably don't want to show the shorts here as much. So maybe we could start this clip after we've shown the shorts, maybe around here. So let's start it here. And let's scrub through here and see what happens. Okay, it actually stops at that point. So that's probably not a good piece for us to use. We want some movement. Okay, so we start scrolling again here now. So maybe just before that happens, let's see what happens here. Let's play through. Okay, so we're scrolling down. We're seeing all the thumbnail options. Okay, so I think we will show something like this. Again, maybe not the start of it because it scrolls down a little bit and stops. So maybe once it starts again. Okay, so let's start it here, just before it starts to scroll. And so we'll have it do all of this. We're showing a lot of different thumbnail images, maybe about here. So let's cut that. We can press Command B or Control B, or we can come up here to the slice or split button here. We've now got this little chunk of footage. Let's come across here to where we want to put that now. So maybe we'll put it, we could have it so that it snaps directly on that clip like it is now. Or if we actually have it show just before it, in some cases that can actually feel better. It can flow better for the viewer. So let's just sample this now. This is all about trial and error here to work out what's going to fit the best to create a good experience for your viewers. It is so important. So to help you with this, you need to make sure that your thumbnail images are grabbing people's attention, that they stand out on whatever platform you're posting them on. Okay, maybe we'll actually drag this down a little bit towards the end of this. So to help you with this, you need to make sure that your thumbnail images are grabbing people's attention, that they stand out on whatever platform you're posting them on. Okay, so that's not bad. So we're going to do a first pass in filling in some of these gaps and making this video more engaging. And then we can do another pass where we're refining it. So it's going to be a little bit of back and forth, a little bit of tweaking and adjusting. What's the next piece here? The thumbnail image also needs to be related to your video content. So best case scenario, if someone sees your thumbnail image, that they can work out exactly what your video is about and if it's for them just from looking at that thumbnail image. So this is where you could add some big... All right, we still got the remainder here that we haven't used. So let's come back over to here. Let's scrub through here. Let's see if we've got anything that's really going to fit. Okay, so that stuff there could work. Let's come across a bit more, see what else we've got to work with here. I guess that's for the look good small. We've made the thumbnail images smaller. This static section here, we could use for when we're showing the text or talking about the text. Okay, maybe we'll have this search piece here. Just before I start typing, okay, about here. Video editing Mac, we run the search, that comes up. We're in the top spots here. And then we scroll down a little bit. Okay, let's add a cut here and let's bring this piece back. Let's just see how this goes here. They stand out on whatever platform you're posting them on. Your thumbnail image also needs to be related to your video content. So best case scenario, if someone sees your thumbnail image, that they can work out exactly what your video is about and if it's for them just from looking at that thumbnail image. So this is... Okay, so I like the start of it here where we're showing these examples, but I don't know that it needs to start scrolling there. So maybe we'll stop it just before it starts scrolling. And then we could potentially slow down this clip so that it's on screen for longer. Maybe we could even zoom in on the different thumbnails here on screen, just make them bigger. But I'm not going to do that in this first pass here. I just want to drop some clips in, see where the gaps are, find out if we need to go and record more B-roll or overlay footage, or use stock footage sites to find other clips that are going to fit here. We're doing our first pass first. Now we're going to take a look at how we can adjust the clips that are in the timeline. So we're going to pick one of our clips here. Let's pick our B-roll clip here at the start, and this could be any clip. And what happens is over on the right-hand side here, we get a bunch of other options that show up. You can see here that these options are broken down into video, audio, speed, animation, tracking, and adjustment. What we're going to look at in this video is the video ones here, specifically the ones that are related to scaling, the position, zooming, rotating, so making some basic adjustments to our clips. Now these are the more advanced features and controls that are in this section as well. We will be covering off in later videos, but you've got things in here like cutout, mask, and enhance here as well. So now that you know where to find them, we're going to come back here to basic. And what we're going to do is let's make sure that our playback head, this playback indicator, is above the clip that we have selected. Otherwise, we're back here, we're making adjustments. We're actually not going to see a preview of what it is that we're adjusting. So you want to make sure that that playback head is somewhere on the clip that you have selected. And let's say that for this clip here, we want to zoom in on it to make it a bit bigger. So we've got it selected. We can come over here to scale and let's just drag this across to increase it. So maybe about here. Now with scaling, the default setting here is to do it in proportion. So we're scaling it up and it's still going to look right. It's still going to look normal. We're not stretching it at this point, but there might be times where you do want to stretch something up. So we can unselect this uniform scale here, and then we can scale the height and the width separately. I'm going to undo that last change here by pressing undo, and let's turn back on uniform scaling. Now at any time with the adjustments that you've made, if you want to reset them, you can just press this little circle here, redo, and that will redo or reset any of the adjustments you've made in that section. So you can see here we've got position and size. That's the area that we made changes in. If we scroll down, we've got blend, we've got stabilize, motion blur. If we just want to reset the position and size area, we can press this little button here, and all of those settings are going to go back to default. But let's scale this up again, maybe somewhere around here. We can then use the X and Y settings here to adjust the X and Y position of this. So you can see as we hold this down, we're moving it over in very small increments to the right. Likewise, if we press the down arrow or we lower this number, we're going to move to the left in small increments. The Y works exactly the same. We can adjust the Y position on the Y axis with these values here as well. But what you can also do is you can click and drag on this preview window when you're in this mode, and you can just click and drag to adjust the positioning. So maybe we'll position it so that it's more centered here. Maybe something like this. Let's play through this now.
To see it. So you need to get your content clicked on, and that's when your thumbnail strategy is so important.
Okay, maybe we'll even make this one a little bit bigger because again, we're going to add some click animation on there a little bit later. So let's zoom in on this one a bit more. Now it is important to note that we are digitally zooming in on this. So depending on your project settings, depending on how high quality you actually recorded your clips, you do have the potential to lose quality at this point if you're zooming in too far. But for right now, this is still looking okay. Let's zoom in a little bit more and let's position this around here. Let's come across this next clip here. Maybe we don't need this static section here, this menu bar on the left. So we can zoom in on this one as well. Again, we want to click on it. So it's selected. We want to make sure that our playback indicator here, playback head, is over the top of this clip somewhere. And maybe we can zoom this in a bit. Let's move it across. Let's go up a little bit more just so we can actually center it there. Okay, so we've got that snapping on, so it's snapping to the side there. We can either turn that off so that we're able to get more granular adjustment, or we can use these X and Y coordinates. So let's just use these to get it pretty close. I've centered this up now, and let's preview this clip.
Images are grabbing people's attention. They stand out on whatever platform you're posting them on.
And let's play this next clip here.
Your thumbnail image also needs to be related to your video content. So best case scenario.
Okay, maybe what we could do with this one is we could zoom in a little bit so we're seeing this text or this typing happening bigger. And then we can have a cut where it zooms back out. So let's work out where we want to have that cut. Maybe about here. Let's split our clip at this point. Let's click that first one again and let's zoom in and let's bring it down and across a little bit. Maybe something like this. Let's preview this now.
Your thumbnail image also needs to be related to your video content. So best case scenario, if someone sees your thumbnail image, they can work out exactly.
Okay, that's pretty good. Now you also have the ability in here to rotate your footage as well. So let's just say that we wanted to rotate this clip. It's not something I would normally do in this case, but with that clip selected, again, we also have the option here to rotate. And again, you can either manually do this here using the up and down arrows. You could also type in a number if you wanted to, or you do have this little circle graphic here. And if we click and hold with this, then as we move the mouse around, our clip here is rotating. So let's say that we did want to include some rotation here. You can see that we can actually see the background, the layer below this is appearing on this area now because it no longer fits the size of our video here. So what we could do to hide that is we could zoom this in to make it bigger or scale it up. So we could grab scale here. Let's zoom this up here to make sure that we're covering off on all the corners here. And so we've now got this clip on an angle, but we're not seeing the video clip underneath it or behind it. Now for this clip, again, that was just demonstration purposes. I am going to reset that here. So we'll hit with this clip selected up here, position and size. Let's reset that to go back to the original to undo that setting change. Now we're going to take a look at adding text and stickers into our video. So we've got our video here that we've been editing down here, and I want to add some text at the very start of it to help hook our viewers in. So let's just play this again. You could have the world's best video, but if no one clicks on it, no one's going to see it. Okay, so what I'm thinking is we add world's best video as 3 big bold pieces of text to help grab the viewer's attention at the start of this video. So I want to come up here to text, and there's lots of different ways that we can actually create text in here. The standard way, the default way, is with one of these default text boxes here. So we can click and drag this down to our timeline, and we can see that we have text show up here as if it was a piece of footage. So with this text, obviously we can customize it all up, but with the little icon here on our timeline, we can pick pick this up. We can move it around. We could add cuts in it. We can make it longer or shorter, depending on what we want to do. It's treated the same as a regular piece of video footage here. But with one main distinction is that it is classed as text, so we can't actually integrate it with the rest of our timeline here. You can see that it's on its own text-based layer. And that just helps separate it from your regular footage. So with our basic default text here, if we want to edit the text, we can make sure that it's selected. We can come up the top here and we could type in something else. Let's just choose Justin Brown. So I've got my name in here. We can then run through all the different settings and things in here, like font. We can change the fonts. We've got all your regular adjustments here for bold, underline, capitalization. We can adjust the color here. If we scroll down a bit, there are different presets as well that we can use. So you can see by clicking on these, it's changing up that style. And there's quite a few different options in here. You can hit this down arrow to expand out and see some more, but this is still very basic compared to where we can take this. Scrolling down further, we've got your position and size, so we can scale this up. We can control the position here using these sliders or these values here to have a lot of precision with how we're moving things around, or we can just click over here and drag, move this to where we want it. We can rotate, we can resize and everything from here. If we scroll down, we've got things like the stroke. So if we want to have a border or not, we can enable that here. We can also change the color of that stroke and even the thickness. Let's go ahead and turn this one off. You've also got settings in here for adding a background. So if you'd like to have a background very similar to our regular YouTube video text that we use, then we could customize that up here. And there's also settings for adding a glow, adding a shadow, and a curve here as well. So that's a very basic default style title that you can create here in CapCut. I'm going to select on this and I'm going to press delete. We're going to remove it. And let's come down here, because down here under effects, there are some pre-built looks or effects, presets really, of different types of text that you can easily add to your timeline that you can then customize up further. So if you scroll down here, you can see just how many different looks and styles and things there are. And again, these aren't even the animated text. These are still pretty simple. So the idea is that you could scroll through here, find something that you like the look of. So maybe something like this, we can click and drag that down into our timeline, and then we can customize it up again. And we've still got the same abilities here in terms of scaling, positioning, rotating, all of that stuff. Now there's also some different styles of text that we can create here as well. So with our text selected, and this will work for the default text as well, we can also come over here to bubble. And if we start to click through some of these, you can see the different styles and things that you can create. So different types of text boxes, but there's also the more professional text that you can add in here as well. So I'm going to select on this. We're going to press delete. So it's gone. Let's scroll down further past effects here, and let's go to text templates. So we can already see here that these titles look next level. If we just hover over them, we can see that they have some sort of basic animation. So this one here is just wiggling a little bit, appearing, lots of different options here. And if we want to see what it looks like as a preview, then we can actually click on one of them. No one's going to see it. So you need to and it's going to play back a small portion of your video so that you can see that animation or that text playing back on your timeline. Clicks on it, no one's going to see it. So you need to clicks on it, no one's going to see it. So you need to clicks on it, no one's going to see it. So you need to. And again, if we scroll down here, you'll see that there's a lot of options in here. Now, there is some filtering that you can go through to help you narrow down this list. You'll see that as you scroll down, there are different categories that you hit from time to time, like this one here, vlog. We can actually access those quicker if we select over here on text template. You've got direct access to these categories here as well. Now, for the text that I want to use in this video, I'm just going to come back up here to effects. Let's find something that stands out. So I'm just going to grab this one here. Let's drag this down into our timeline and let's customize this up. So the first word that we wanted was worlds, world apostrophe S. Let's change the font here. Let's use Oswald, which is our primal video font. Let's maybe make this a bit bigger. Maybe something like this for now. Maybe we'll make this bold as well. So we've got our first word done. Now we're going to select this clip. Let's right click on it and we can copy it. We can then paste it. So we can right click and choose paste. So we've got a second one now, and let's paste it again. So we've got 3 of them. So we've got worlds. Let's move this across a little bit. Let's customize this one here, best. And let's double click on this one here to edit this one. Video. Okay, now we want to position these so that we can see them all on screen at once. Maybe we'll move this down, world's best, and let's adjust video. I'm just clicking and dragging. We'll need to lengthen this out too, so that we can see all 3 of them on screen at once. So we'll adjust this timing now, shorten this one up. And let's just play this, and maybe we'll zoom in a bit first to work on this timing. We want them to appear as I say the words. We have the world's best video, but if no... Okay, so it's much too short. That one's pretty good. Best starts here, so let's extend this back. The world's best video. And we're starting to say video, so we'll do it about there. The world's best video, but... So this is a very simple effect, just having these 3 appear at this time. There's no transitions, there's no effects or anything at this point. Let's just play this now. You could have the world's best video, but if no one clicks on it, maybe we'll have them disappear at this point. Let's shorten these back. Have the world's best video, but if no one clicks on it, no one's going to see it. So I think what we could add here for this next piece is a sticker. So let's come over here to sticker. And these are like little graphics that you can use. Think of Instagram, Snapchat, little GIFs, little graphics that you can add on. And again, if we hit the little drop down here, there's lots of different ones. So maybe we'll go emoji and let's go a thumb down or a sad face or something like that for the piece where we say no one's going to see it. What about this one here? We can click and drag this down onto our timeline. And we can see now that this has created, again, its own style of layer. So we've got all our text layers here with the T, and we now have our stickers layer here as well. So we could move this up just to keep it neat so that we're grouping or we're keeping all the different types of footage, stickers, titles, and things together. But in terms of where it actually is, it doesn't make any difference to the actual video itself. I'm going to move it back up to the top. Let's work out where we want it to appear. Timing wise, let's play this. No one's going to see it. Okay, that's not too bad. So I didn't want it on straight away, but there is a quick little gap there. And now let's resize this. So with it selected up in this transform area here, you can see we've got scale. We can scale this down a bit. Maybe we'll cover my face with it at this point actually. And we want to adjust this end time here so there's not going over our next clip so that it finishes about the same time. So we're going to drag that back until it snaps into place. Let's just play this now. But if no one clicks on it, no one's going to see it. So you need to get your content. Okay, bit of fun, bit of engagement. Now for this next piece here where it says you need to focus on getting your thumbnail image clicked. So you need to get your content clicked on, and that's when your thumbnail strategy is so important. Okay, so for here, there's probably some sort of sticker that we could use in regards to clicking or tapping. Okay, I'm thinking maybe icons. Actually, it's probably going to be emphasis where we're going to be pointing to something. Here we go. It's a tap and it looks like a click, or is there a mouse click? A few different options we've got here. Okay, I think I like the ones back towards the start here. Maybe this one. And let's drag this down here again onto our sticker layer. Let's get the timing right, and then we'll resize it. See it. So you need to get your content clicked on, and that's when your thumbnail strategy is so it actually only plays that animation there once, and then it just stays like that. So you need to get your content clicked on. So let's scale it, let's get it right, and then we will repeat that animation. So let's select this clip here, scale it down. I think it's a bit big, but we still want it pretty big. And maybe we will move it off to the side here. So it's tapping on my face. Okay, that's not too bad. So after that animation is finished there, then let's cut this clip. Let's shorten it back to that point, and then let's copy and paste it a few times. So it's going to play through that animation a little bit. So we're going to copy it. We can right click and choose copy. We can then paste it. We can just right click and choose paste. We can come across to the end of that clip and we can paste it again, right click, paste. And we keep going for as long as we want that animation to be happening. So let's just see what this looks like. So you need to get your content clicked on, and that's when your thumbnail. Okay, so maybe we'll do a couple more. See it. So you need to get your content clicked on, and that's when your thumbnail strategy is. And then that's probably enough of this shot on screen. It's kind of dragging out a little bit now. So maybe we'll trim this clip back so that it just pops back to me on screen. Let's play this. You could have the world's best video, but if no one clicks on it, no one's going to see it. So you need to get your content clicked on, and that's when your thumbnail strategy is so important. So I'm going to go through now and add text and graphics into the remainder of this video, but that's how easy it is. Now we're going to look at adding transitions into your videos. So a transition is essentially an effect that sits between two video files on your timeline, and that effect that you apply will transition or segue between those two clips. So you don't just have to have a hard cut. In some cases, it might make sense to get a little bit more fancy and apply some of these transition effects. Now, fair warning with these, this is one way that if you overdo this and add too many effects, too many transitions, you can make your videos look very cheap and very unprofessional. So use them sparingly, use them if they're going to add to the video, but definitely don't go overboard. So we want to come up the top here to where it says transitions, and let's hit this little drop down arrow here because there's so many in here. Once again, they've actually broken them down into different categories for us. So we've got our trending category here. This one's obviously going to change over time as different effects and transitions and things change. But you can see that we've got all these other categories here as well. Overlay, movement, blur, basic. And then to preview what these actually look like, we just put our mouse cursor over them and it's going to play a little animation or a little version of what this is going to look like. So we scroll down, maybe look at some of these light effects, bubble blur. So many in here to choose from. So let's say that we find the one that we want to use, spin clockwise here in this example. To add it, we just need to click and drag this down onto our timeline, and we can add it at the joining marker between any two clips. We can't add it at the start of a clip, we can't add it at the end, we can only add it at the transition point. Now this will work for overlay footage, this will also work for footage in your primary timeline as well, anywhere where there is a join between two clips. So I'm just going to add it up here between these two clips, and I will let the mouse button go, and that has applied there now. So now if we just play this little section here, you'll see this transition in full effect. If there's too much going on, let's play it again. Mobile devices. If there's too much going on, just added that spin effect in this case between those two. Now just to show you what it was like before, with that selected here, press delete and just play it. Devices. If there's too much going on in your right? Nothing really happened. It was just a hard cut between the two clips. So let's add an effect back on here because I want to show you that you can actually customize these up. So this time I've grabbed another one here. We're going to drop it again on the transition point or the split between those two clips. And then you'll see up the top here, we can actually choose how long this transition or this effect will actually play for. So the duration of it. So if we want that effect to happen slower, we can increase the amount of time that that's going to happen. We also have the ability to make adjustments to this down the bottom here as well. You can see if we put our mouse cursor over either end here, then we can drag this out or shorten it down to speed it up or slow it down too. So with this now set to the maximum amount of time, let's just play this section here. Small screens, mobile devices. If there's too much going on in your thumbnail, so it can just break up your shots a little bit. Now for most professional videos that I've ever made, we've never really added too many of these transitions and effects on because as I said earlier, it can make your videos look unprofessional. But if I am adding them, then this is where I'm going to stick to the basic ones, which are up here actually under overlay. So it would be either a fade to black, a fade to white, like a white flash, a dissolve, or just a simple cross fade to blend the two clips. That's generally all I would use. Now let's come back over here in our timeline where we've got a cut here between two of our clips. And these clips here are pretty much identical, right? Same camera, same angle. If we play this, is so important. So to help you, you'll see it was just a hard cut. So we've got no transition on there. We could go ahead and add in an effect here, a transition, and drag it down between our two clips and play this. So to help you with this, right, but no matter which transition we're actually going to pick here, it never really looks that good because we're transitioning between two shots that are essentially the same. We just cut a little bit of the audio out, but they're essentially the same. So instead, what I would do here, instead of adding a transition effect, is that I would just zoom in on one of the clips to make it look like it was a different shot. So let's make sure that our second clip here is selected. We could scale this up, maybe about 12%. And again, depending on how you've shot this, whether you shot it in 4K, 1080, and the quality of your project, it is possible that you might be losing a little bit of quality here, so you don't want to zoom in too much. But generally up to around 15% or 115 here on this scale should be okay for what we're talking about. So with no further adjustments, let's just play this clip here now. Important. So to help you with this, so you can see it's now looking a little bit different. It's punched in, zoomed in a little bit at that cut. But in order to really sell this effect, if you've got a person in the shot like we do here, if you're able to line up their eyes, then it's going to be far less jarring for the viewer. So maybe we'll bring this shot down a little bit here. So let's come to the Y position and we can lower this to bring it down. We could also just click and drag down as well. And let's go back and see what the eye position was like before. Okay, so it's not perfect, but it's much better. So if we were to play this now, so important. So to help you with this, you need to make sure it's such a simple little transition or effect that you can add here that's going to keep your viewers more engaged with your viewers because things are changing up, but it's without going over the top and adding all these fancy transitions and effects. In this video, I'm going to show you how easy it is to add different effects and animations to your videos. Now, this is one of the big advantages of using CapCut in that there is so many different effects and things built in here that you can easily add to your videos. Now here in CapCut, effects and animations are actually two different things. So I'm going to show you effects first, and then I will show you animations. There's a lot of overlap, but the two are different. So to access the effects, we want to come up the top here, click on effects. And as with anything else in CapCut, there's a lot of different options in here. And again, they're broken down into these different categories here on the left, starting off with trending. But you can see if we scroll down here further, we've got things like glitch effects as well. And we can preview what these look like just by putting our cursor over them. So you can see that's adding that little glitch effect there. Or maybe something more subtle here with color glitch. Maybe we've got cut here, chromatic. And then when we find the effects that we want to use, we can literally just drag and drop them down onto our timeline, onto one of our clips. It can either be one of our B-roll or overlay clips, or it could be your primary footage here too. So I'm going to drop it here just on the primary footage so that we can see what this looks like. We can see that it's now overlaid this blue area here onto our clip for us. And we've also got some controls up the top here to further dial this in. But let's just hit play on this at the start so that we can see that this effect has been applied. You could have the world's best video, but if no one clicks on it, so you can see that we've now got this glitch effect that's happening. So as for how much control you'll have over the effect will come down to the individual effect itself. But you can see up here, we can adjust the strength, we can adjust the speed, and also we've got lateral chromatic aberration here as well. So we can increase this and you can see it just changes the effect here. Maybe we'll even increase the speed. And now let's play this. You could have the world's best. Right, so it totally changed that effect. Now down the bottom here in the timeline, we also get to choose how long that effect is actually on our clip for. The default here, because we dragged it onto an entire clip, is to fill the entire clip. But you can see if we put our mouse over these little handles here on the edge of that effect, we can shorten that section too. So if we only want it happening for the first little piece, then we can just shorten it down to that part. So if we play this now, you could have the world's best video. You can see we just have that glitch effect happening at the start of the clip. Now you notice that when we click off the clip here, that effect actually disappears from our timeline here. So we're not actually going to see it. It's actually now included inside of that clip. So if we want to find it again to make adjustments to it or to remove it, we just need to click on the actual clip itself. And then over here under video, you can see we now have a category here for effects. And we can see under effects, we have one effect here applied, which is that chromatic effect. So we can hit edit here to make changes to that. And you can see at that point, we can see it down here in the timeline again. Or if I go back and select the clip here again, we also have the ability to delete the clip from here as well by pressing the little trash can. Now, one clip here in your timeline can also have multiple effects applied to it. So let's just show you what that looks like. We'll grab a cut effect here. Maybe we'll pick a Christmas one in this case, a sparkle. Let's drag that down as well. And then if we deselect the clip, so just click on something else, let's click on our clip again, then up here under effects, then we can see that we've now got two effects that are applied to this. I'm going to go ahead and remove both of these. So that's how you can apply effects directly to a clip here in your timeline. But you can also apply them to the timeline itself. And this is a really powerful feature. So let's just grab this one here, snowing, right? We could just drag it onto a clip. But instead, you see if we put our cursor here over the timeline, we can actually have it be inserted as its own clip in the timeline. So let's just drop this here somewhere. You can see that as we have our own layers here for titles and for stickers, we actually have our own layers for effects here as well. So we could pick this up so it's up the top to make it easier for grouping these things as well. But then just like any other clip, we can stretch it out, we can make it longer, we can make it shorter, we could split it in half by hitting the split button here, and maybe we adjust it. So we're going to have this effect happening here at the start. You could have the world's best video. So we've got snow happening here, and then for this next piece here, we don't have any snow, but then back up here, the snow starts again. Are grabbing people's attention, that they stand out. So if you do have an effect that you want to apply across your entire video, this is how you do it instead of adding it on a clip by clip basis. So we're going to go ahead and delete these from our project here. So I'm just going to select on the clip, press delete on the keyboard, select the next one, press delete. So that's effects here in CapCut. But animations is something similar, but a little bit different. So an effect we can apply to the clip itself, or to have it treated as its own clip in the timeline to affect everything underneath that. But an animation can only be applied to an individual clip itself. So let's take one of our clips here on the timeline. Let's pick this first one here. Let's move this playback indicator so it's on our clip so that we know that we're looking at the right thing here. And then this time, instead of accessing our effects and things from up the top, what we want to do is come over to the other side here and come over to animation. Again, these settings and everything here are all related to the clip that we have selected in the timeline. So let's come over here to animation. And straight away, you can see at the top here, we have an in animation, we have out animation, and we have combo. And these work in very much the same way as a transition on your clips. A transition in CapCut was an effect that could only be applied between two clips. Whereas an animation here can be applied to either the start of a clip, the end of the clip, so in or out, or combo, which means the entire clip itself. So let's take a look at some of these examples. We've got it selected here for in. Let's just put our mouse over these and we can start to see what they look like. We've got a fade in, we've got rock, we've got shake here, a swing. So if we want to apply one of these to our video, then we just need to select it. So let's pick this one here, zoom one. You could have, and it actually plays back the start of our clip there with this effect applied. Let's pick another one. You could have shake 2, maybe swing right. You could have, now you can also see that this is happening pretty quick. We could also adjust the duration of that here. So the default right now is half a second, 0.5. We could either type in the length of time that we want this to go for. We could use the up and down arrows here to adjust that as well. Or we can actually grab this little slider bar here to extend this out or to shorten it up. So let's go 2.5 seconds in this case. You could have the world's best video, but if not, so we can see that that effect now is happening over a longer period of time. Now this hasn't made any other adjustments to the rest of our clip. You can see we've actually got this little white line across the bottom here now. That shows us that we do have some sort of animation applied to that start of that clip. So the rest of the clip right now is untouched. It's going to play back as it normally would. But let's say that we wanted to add an out animation on the end of our video here. We want to finish the video with some sort of animation. We can select the clip, we come up here and let's choose out, and then we've got some different animations we can add on here. So there's a zoom out, I can zoom in, maybe we'll just do a fade out. So let's press on that one, and we can see the preview there, the end of the video, it's going to fade to black. And again, we could adjust the time on that if we want it to go a little longer. Let's make it 1 second, something else. Then that can fade out from there. Now, when you're going through and you're playing with these and you're picking the different effects, if there's something that you don't want to have on there or you want to turn this off, you just need to come up here and select none, and that's going to remove that animation from that clip. So that's adding an in and adding an out animation. What about a combo animation? Let's pick this clip here because it's a short clip. Let's put our playback head here over that clip so that we're actually, again, looking at the same clip. And then let's come over here to combo. Let's click on one of these and see what it looks like. Or even some related images or graphics. Okay, do you see that movement there? That wasn't there before. Let's hit none, so we're able to preview it with nothing. Let's hit play on this one. Or even some related images or graphics. So let's try another one here, maybe Pendulum 2. Or even some related images or graphics. It just adds some movement there for us. And this is awesome having this built in, because to keyframe this or to animate this yourself manually normally would be a lot of work. And if we scroll down, you see we've got lots of different options in here. Or even some related images or graphics. Or even some related images or graphics. or even some related images or graphics. So it's just a matter of going through, finding the animation or the movement that you like the look of, and then again, you can adjust the length of time here for that animation to happen. And then again, to remove this animation, you just want to make sure you've got none selected. It's going to mean that there's no animation happening at that time. Now, if you want to make speed adjustments to your video clips, you want to speed them up, you want to slow them down, it's really easy to do here in CapCut. I'm going to go ahead and import a clip here that will make more sense to speed up or to slow down, because in a video like the one that we've been editing down here, it's not normally an effect or something that I would usually do. So let's come over here to Media. Let's go down here to Library, and I'm just going to search here for ski. All right, so we can get a shot with some movement, maybe something like this one here. And I'm just going to click and drag this down onto our timeline here, but let's just put it towards the end. This is going to be a temporary clip. And again, I just want to mention that even though CapCut does give you access to some stock footage like this, personally, it's not something that I would be using or comfortable using without knowing that I own the full correct copyright and license agreements for that footage. So where we go for stock footage is places like Storyblocks, places like Artlist, but depending on where you're going to be releasing your videos, this stock footage could be okay. Okay, so we've got our clip down here in the timeline. Let's hit play to see what happens. Okay, so our snowboarder just comes past the camera here, a couple little turns. Okay, so let's say that we want to make some speed adjustments to this clip. We want to make sure that that clip is selected. So we want to click on it. We can then come up here to speed. Now there's two ways that you can do this. There is a simple way, and then there is a more advanced way. So the simple way is that we can literally just come up here, grab this slider here where it says times. We can drag it to the left to slow it down. You can see that our speed, instead of being 1 time speed or real time, that we're actually lowering that. So 0.9, 0.8, so 0.5 is half speed. So if we just hit play on this now, it's now going half the speed. We could go even slower. Let's go 0.2. Now, depending on how this footage was shot and the frame rates and things, the slower you go, you might start to bring in some weird motion or jittery playback. But let's see how we go here with this clip. So you can see it's definitely slowed it down, and it is a little bit jittery, but it's not too bad. And likewise, if we wanted to speed the clip up, we could go above 1 time, so above real time speed, and it's going to speed that up for us. So let's go maybe 3 speed here. Let's hit play. Pretty straightforward. Another way that we can control this isn't based off this times indicator. It's actually based off the duration of the clip. So you can see here that as we make this faster, the clip actually gets shorter here in the timeline, or the duration is less. So we could also make adjustments here. If there is a set time that we want to make this, we could actually adjust that here. So let's say that we wanted this clip to go for 3.5 seconds. It's going to then essentially calculate for us the percentage number here, or the ratio number here. Now, before we move to the more advanced curve setting here, which will give you much further granular control over this, there is another setting here which is relatively new to CapCut, which will help you smooth out slow motion footage. So if we're slowing our clip down again, let's go to 0.2. So this is where we had a little bit of jitter there in the motion. This new feature is down the bottom here, smooth slow-mo. And if we select this, so you can see that's processing our footage here now. But what it's essentially doing is going to create extra frames or extra information to fill in those gaps to make the motion fluid. So let's hit play on this now. So you can see it is already a lot smoother. It's not perfect, but it is a lot smoother. Now, this is just with the first setting here, the default setting, frame blending. But what I found will get you much better results if you do want to use this is switching it to optical flow. It does say that this will have a longer processing time, but it is better quality. And you can see switching to that, the processing time is going to be much longer. But just so I can show you what this looks like, let's turn off that effect. I'm going to trim down our clip here. So we'll add a split in our timeline, and let's apply it to a much shorter clip, because if it's a shorter clip, there's less processing that needs to happen. So let's choose smooth slow-mo here for this small section, and we're going to choose that optical flow. We can see that processing is happening much faster. So that's done. Let's take a look at how that looks now. Let's hit play. So even the motion in the trees looks a lot better. So it's not as good as having recorded this in slow motion, but that does look so much better. Great, okay, so that's the basic or the quick way to adjust the speed. Now, if we look at the more professional way, that's using the curves setting here. So I'm just gonna set our clips here back to 1 time speed, and let's reset our clip here so that it's back with no speed adjustments made. Let's again come up here to speed, but this time we're going to pick on curve. And then in here, there's some presets that we can use, or we can create our own customization in here too. So if we have a look at the little images here that it's showing us, where the line is in the middle, that's normal speed. Where it goes above the middle, then that's speeding it up. Where it goes below the middle, that's slowing it down. So we can kind of gauge already just looking at these presets, what's going to happen if we apply these presets. So this one here, for instance, hero time, it's going to start out at normal speed. It's going to speed up to a point. It's then going to drop to full slow motion. And then it's going to come back up to faster than normal speed and then slow back down. So let's click on this and that's going to apply it to our clip and let's see what that looks like. So we can see here what's happening with this as well throughout our video. Let's play that again. It's the fast bit slowing down. This is the slowest point, and then it speeds back up. And all of these little points here, these are adjustable. So we can make adjustments to this preset right here on here. So let's just say that we actually wanted it faster at the beginning. Then we can grab this start marker here. Let's drag it up. So we're going at a much faster speed at the start, and then it slows down before coming back up. So we can customize things up from here, or for full customization, we can come over here to customized. Now I'm going to go none first, so we don't have any speed controls applied to this. We're going to pick customized, and you can see here, we've got a blank canvas. It's all set to 100% or one speed, so normal speed, and then we can make adjustments in here by dragging these little markers around. And you can see as you click and drag through this area here, we're able to scrub through our clip here to get more precise as to where we want to start this speeding up or slowing down. But then it's just a matter of adjusting these points here, or these keyframes here, to get the look that we're after, to speed things down or slow them up. So let's say that we want to slow it down at this point. We can drag down both of these little markers here to where we want them. So right now we've got it starting full speed, but it's starting to slow down at that point, but then it's going straight back up. Let's also grab this next one here. Let's pull this one down as well. And then let's make an adjustment here so that it's playing at full speed until it gets to around this sort of a point. We can come over here, because there isn't a marker for us to move, we can hit the little plus button here. That's going to add one for us. So let's now speed this one back up. So we're now playing back at real time, full speed until this point, then it slows down. We're now playing in slow motion for this flat period here. And then maybe at this point here, we'll want to bring it back up. We can move this one here over as well. And let's go ahead and play this now so you can see what we've done. Full speed to here, we slow down a bit. We're now playing at a slower speed for all of this. Then we ramp back up to our full speed for the remainder of the clip. And in here as well, if you are using slow motion, then you do have the option here to enable that smooth slow-mo mode as well. CapCut makes it really easy to help you remove the background from your videos. You don't even need to be using a green screen or a blue screen, but I'm going to show you how you do it in this video. So let's just say that we want to remove me from the background here. We can come down here, select the clip. We can then come over here to cut out. We've then got two options here. The first one, chroma key, is if we are using a green screen or a blue screen, or we want to remove a specific color. So I'll show you that next. But the other option here, auto cutout, is where we're using CapCut's AI functionality to automatically remove, it says here, a human figure from the background. So let's tick that box here now for this specific clip. It's going through, it's processing that for us. And when it's done, the background has been removed. And it's done a pretty damn good job, and really quickly. So you can see now that there is no background on here. So what we could do then is we could add in a background. So for this, I'm just going to come over here to media. I'm going to come down here to library. We're going to use some stock footage that CapCut gives us access to. Let's come down here to backgrounds, and let's scroll down and see what we've got. Okay, so there's some backgrounds here. Let's grab this one and let's drag this down into our timeline. We'll just use this as our background clip for now. Now, because we've removed the background from this clip here, so it's currently transparent, normally what we would need to do is to put this clip down underneath it so that we're seeing through this clip onto our background. So let's select these two clips here. We can just draw a box around them, or we can select on one, we can hold down Command or Control and click on the other. So they're both selected, and let's just move them up one layer. So we can then bring our background in down underneath it. We can then stretch our background out so that it covers our entire clip here. And then what we can do here is, because our background doesn't quite fit here, we can scale this up or stretch it up so that our background now fits. So we've used a still image here, but this same process will work if you've got a video clip or a moving background that you want to put in here too. So that's usually how you would do it, but there is another feature here inside of CapCut, which does actually make this a little bit easier as well and save you moving your layers around. So we can see now, if we scrub through this, we're seeing our B-roll here at this point. We're then seeing me on camera, but I'm cut out and I've got this other background behind it. Now with this clip here now, we could scale this clip up to make me bigger or smaller. Again, we could come over here to position and size, or we can grab these handles. So we could stretch this up, maybe move it down a bit, maybe off to the side. This is where you could bring up some text or something like this too. But you can see how easy the background removal process is for this. Now, because we have moved our clip here off the primary footage layer and up onto a new layer on top of that, there's one other setting we now have access to as well to help with this effect. So if we scrub back across here, you'll see that this footage here is behaving how you would expect. It's totally covering up what's happening underneath it. But if we click on this and we come over here to video and we scroll down, you can see that we now have this layer option. So if we switch this from layer 2 to layer 1, then you can see it's actually allowing us to bring that effect through over the top of this clip as well. So this is something that might be handy. It's not as intuitive or straightforward as stacking your layers up how you normally would or how you would think that they would be. But in this case, it's a great, easy way for us to bring this shot of me on top of our B-roll footage here, but also have it with a separate background when that B-roll is not on screen as well. So that's how easy it is to quickly remove the background from your videos using CapCut's AI features and without needing to use a green screen or a blue screen. But what if you are using a green screen or a blue screen? I'm going to show you how to do that now. So for green screen, we're going to need to bring in a clip that has something green or blue on it so we can make that green or blue transparent. So let's come back up here to our media area. Let's come down to library. So we're again looking at CapCut's stock footage. Let's choose green screen, and there are a bunch of clips in here we can use to show you how this effect works. So essentially what we're doing here is we're going to remove the green element to make it transparent. So maybe we'll start with this one here first. You can see that it's a video file that is peeling open this paper, ripping a hole in this paper. Let's drag this down onto our timeline here on the layer above our primary footage. So if we just play this through now, it's going to look exactly the same. We're not seeing the video file underneath it. So let's select this clip. Let's come up here to cutout. And instead of using auto cut, this time we're going to use chroma key. We then need to pick the color that we want to remove. That's why this will work for both green and blue, or really any other color. We're going to use this color picker. So we want to click on this. We then want to select the color that we want to remove. So we see we've got the green here now selected. And then we just need to make adjustments to these two sliders, strength and shadow. So as we increase this, you can see that it removes the green. So we want to increase this to the point where the green is gone. So somewhere around here. And we can also increase the shadow here to get a little bit better result. But if we click through this now and hit play, your viewers are going to click on something else. Then it's actually removed that green for us and created a transparent video. So I'll give you one more example. Let's scroll down here and find another clip. Maybe this one here with Santa on it. Let's click and drag that down onto our timeline. Let's put it to the end. Let's get rid of this other clip here. We'll press delete and let's move this one in place of that one. So at this point, we've got Santa here on screen, but we're still seeing all of the green. So we're going to follow the same process. We're going to select that clip, come up here to cutout. Let's select chroma key. Let's use our color picker to pick the green. So let's pick around here. We're going to increase the strength until the green is gone. Now you can see here, we've still got a bit of a green outline. You really want to adjust both of these sliders until that is gone. So probably around here. And you can see that we're now seeing through to the background. So from here, we can then come back to basic because we've still got this clip selected, and we could maybe scale this down. We could pick it up and move it off to the side here. So we've now used that green screen effect here to remove the background on this clip too. Pretty simple. Now, if you find when you're editing your videos that you've got some shaky footage that really doesn't look that good, that you need to stabilize, then CapCut has a built-in stabilization feature that actually works really, really well. So I've got this extra clip on the end of our timeline here, and I'm just going to play through it to show you the shake that's in there, and then I'll show you how to take it out. So you can apply this effect to any shot that does have some shake in it, but if it's something crazy where there's so much motion, then you're probably not going to get great results. So you are always better off trying to fix it at the time of filming and try to shoot stabilized footage then, but this effect could help save some footage if it wasn't too bad to begin with. So let's check this out. So you see the bit of shake there at the start. It's just not a smooth video. It's kind of jumping or jittering. Okay, that's the clip. So all we need to do is select on the clip. We then come up here to our video tools. Just on this basic tab, if we scroll down, then we've got the option here to stabilize. So the first step is we need to check this box. It's then going to go through and analyze our clip, which it does really, really quickly, and it's going to apply its recommended level of adjustment here to stabilize this clip. So let's go ahead and give this a play. So already it's taken that initial shake out, and even the motion here, it's much smoother, it's less jarring. So already at that level, using its recommended setting here, the default setting, it's actually done such a good job. But if you needed to, if you wanted to take things one step further, and maybe it removes some shake, but not all of it, then you could try out here most stable from the drop down. But you'll see what happens straight away when we switch between the recommended, it's a wider shot, and we go to most stable. It's actually zooming in on your shot more because it's going to use that extra information to help stabilize it more. So it does mean that the more you process this, the more it is going to zoom in or crop in on your shot. But let's go ahead and give this a play now. Yeah, so it is a much tighter shot. It is probably a little bit smoother. I'm not sure if that's coming through for the screen recording for you guys. So it is smoother, but personally I thought that the recommended setting was better. So let's go back here to recommended, and let's just play that one more time to show you. Yeah, I definitely prefer this one. And then just for contrast, again, let's turn this off. So back to the original, you can see this is wider again. So this is the original footage. We got that shake and that jitter here that happens at the start. And then the overall panning motion, it's really not that good. So by selecting this box here and using this stabilize feature, that's how you can easily stabilize your footage. Adding music and sound effects in CapCut is super easy. I'm going to take you through the process in this video. But I want to stress up front that even though CapCut does include stock music and sound effects for you to use in your videos, depending on where you're going to be posting your videos though, there is a chance that you could be opening yourself up to some copyright issues based on the licensing for those clips that are included. As a general rule with any video that we make, we want to make sure that we are 100% compliant so that there's no chance of issues either immediately or years down the track. So this is where for getting music and sound effects, we recommend services like Epidemic Sound and Artlist that make the whole licensing thing super easy. But no matter where you're getting your music or your sound effects from, you can definitely edit them and bring them into your projects here in CapCut. We just want to go ahead and import them the same as we did our video footage. So we can come up here to the Media tab, we can hit Import, and we can navigate through and find our files. If we did want to check out though where CapCut does have all of its music and sound effects, then that's up here under the Audio tab here. And then you've got these categories down here on the left. So there's one here for music, and those are broken down further into other categories like vlog, travel, pop. If we minimize this, we can also see there's a category here for sound effects. There's a button here to run a copyright check for you. So if you are going to be using music from here, that you can at least see what issues you could potentially have or where you can and can't use the music. But that is specifically in regards to posting your videos on TikTok, because ByteDance, the company that makes CapCut, also makes TikToks. So that's why there's a lot of integration between the two. There's also an option in here as well, though, to import a video file and it will extract the audio for you. So if you want to use music or sound effects from an existing video, then you can import that here and it's going to strip out that music for you to use. But for this video here, I'm just going to grab a music track here from the library here in CapCut. So I'm going to come up here to music. Maybe we will choose pop. And then it's just a matter of going through listening to the music tracks until you find something that fits. So to play a track, you just want to click on it. That's going to start playing. If you want to shortlist some so that you can easily come back and find them later, you can also star them or favorite them here too. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick this first one here, and we can either hit the plus and that's going to add it down to our timeline, or we can click and drag it down into our timeline. And where this will sit is down below our primary video footage, so beneath everything here on our timeline. So we can see that that's added there now. And these music tracks as clips here in the timeline, they're treated exactly the same as all of the other clips. So we can pick them up, we can move them around. So If we wanted this track to start a little bit later, we could. We can add splits, we can add cuts to remove sections. We can adjust the length of the clip here as well. If we scroll across here, we can see that this music track goes for much longer than our video. So we could just grab this end here and shorten it down. Or if we come back over here, we could just add a cut in our timeline at this point. So let's click split and we could delete the second half of the track there. Now, one thing to note though, when you first bring in a music track or a sound effect, is that the volume levels are usually going to be higher than where you would want them. So we'll take you through a process for adjusting your volume levels very, very soon. But if you're trying to play through your video clip and you're trying to work out, does this song actually match? Then it is a good idea to quickly lower the volume first, just so that it's not too overpowering. So there's two ways that we can do this. We can click on the clip itself and we can see this little white line here. We can click on that and drag it down and you can see that the volume is lowering. So maybe around -20 would be a good place to start if it's a video like this where we've got someone speaking. But also with that clip selected, you can see that we've now got some volume controls up the top here as well. And we could adjust the volume levels using this slider. And the process is exactly the same for adding in sound effects. So if we come back up here and we go to sound effects, so let's search for crash sound, like a whoosh sound. Here we go, crashing whoosh. So let's hit on this to play it. So this might fit at the start of our video where we have this transition effect here.
You could have the world.
Let's give it a go. So let's click on this and drag it down into our timeline. Again, we'll go to the very bottom so that it's separate from our music track. And we're going to lower that volume a little bit just by clicking that white line and pulling it down. And now let's give this a play.
You could have the world.
Okay, it's very quiet. Maybe we'll make it a bit louder.
You could have the world's best video, but if no one clicks on it.
All right, so not bad. Let's zoom in on this a little bit here. Maybe we can make this a bit more impactful. And let's trim off the start of it a little bit and move it right back to the start. Now let's play this.
You could have the world's best video.
Okay, probably not a bad way to add some impact or to start this video. So you want to go through your project here now, add in your music track, add in any sound effects, and then play through your edit. Because what you'll likely find is there might be some tweaks and adjustments you'll make, maybe to line up some of the cuts with the beats, just to make it flow and make it feel better. Once that's done, that's where we'll dive in and adjust our volume levels. Now, ideally through this section, you'd be putting on a set of headphones so that you're really hearing the adjustments that you're making, but you're also hearing a good representation of what your viewers would be hearing as well. Now, I also want to stress here that when you're adjusting your volume levels, especially when it comes to music and sound effects, this is art. This is a creative thing. There really is no right or wrong. You obviously don't want things too loud so that they sound bad, but you also don't want things too quiet so that people can't hear it. But beyond that, this is a creative thing. So where I start when I'm trying to get the volume levels correct is I want to start off with our primary footage here. If it has a voiceover or someone speaking, let's get the volume set right first for that, because that's the priority. And then after that, we'll come back in and adjust the volumes for any other music or sound effects. So what I would do first off here is I want to hit this little speaker button here to mute everything on this layer. So this would mute all of our sound effects. I'll also mute this one here so that when we're going through this section, we're only hearing our primary audio, which in this case is me speaking. And we want to get that volume set right first. So we've got our music and sound effects muted here. We're going to select on our first clip here because it's always easier to apply our effects and everything to the first clip, then apply it to the rest after that. And then if we come up here to audio, then we've got our audio adjustments here. Now, as with everything, video editing, there's a couple of different ways that we can do this. If we come down here and we look at the audio waveforms here, so the visual representation of the audio that's happening in our video, we can see that there's some areas here where we're hitting yellow at the top of these peaks. If we adjust the volume level here, let's pull it down, you can see that those are lowered. So we've got lower volume at this point. But back the other way, if we increase this and we start to see more of our clip going into the yellow and hitting that top line, that means it's too loud and it's likely distorting and sounding terrible at that point. So we want to adjust our volume levels again so that they are in the right range, not too loud and not too quiet. And we can do this visually here by looking at these waveforms and adjusting it to the point where really we're not hitting that top yellow or red area. So that can be a great starting point. Now, the other way that we can do this is we can click here to enable our audio bars or our audio meters here. And then as we play through our video,
you could have the world's
you'll see that we have that visual representation happening over here. So the idea is we want to set our volume to the level where the audio is in the green, into the yellow a little bit, yellow or orange, but definitely not into the red. And the red in this case is anything above 0 or very close to 0. So let's hit play on this. You could have the world's best video, but if no one clicks on it, no one's going to see it. So you need to get your content. So you can see that we're well below the 0 here. So let's increase this a little bit. Let's go back to 0. Let's play that again. Have the world's best video, but if no one clicks on it, no one's going to see it. So you need to get your content clicked on, and that's when your thumbnail strategy is so important. Okay, so that's actually pretty good, and that's because it was set correctly in the camera at the time of filming. So even though we can see some of these little yellow peaks and things down here, they're not actually going into the red, which means that they're fine. If we say turn this up even louder, we go to 7, and now let's play this. You could have the world's best video, but it's way too loud. It's going to sound terrible to someone listening. So let's bring this back down here to 0. Now, if you want to be on the safe side here, it's always better to be on the lower end of things, as in go a little bit under where you think. It's going to be a better experience for your viewers watching than if you went the other side and had it a little bit too loud. So we could actually bring this down just a little bit lower. Let's go -1 decibel here in this case. Now we could either go through here on a clip by clip basis and make that adjustment manually, or if your footage is like we have it here, where it was all filmed at the same time, same camera, same settings, then we just want to apply those same settings to the remainder of our clips. So we can zoom out here and we can select our remaining clips here. So just drawing a box around them. We can then come back up here to audio and let's make that same adjustment here. So let's go -1 in this case. And all of our clips then are the same. Now, if you do have different volume levels throughout your clips, another really awesome feature built in here to CapCut is this background noise reduction here. So if you've got a ton of background noise, wind, waves at the beach, then you can select this here and it's going to go through, analyze your audio and remove that background noise for you. But once you've adjusted the volume levels on your primary footage, that's when we'll come down here, we'll unmute our music and we will get that correct as well. So the process is exactly the same. We would hit play on our timeline here at this point, again with headphones on, and we'd be listening to see, can we still hear the audio, the spoken piece? And is this music too loud or is it too quiet? And we'd make that adjustment here, either with this white line on the clip, pulling it up or down, or we're up here with these basic adjustments. Once the music is done, that's when I'd also then be adjusting your sound effects too. Now you might also find that some of your other clips in the timeline have audio included as well. Like if we look at some of our B-roll clips here, we can see that there's some noise that's happened at that point. There's a little bit of noise here, and there's little bits throughout this clip here. We could either manually go through clip by clip and adjust the volume levels to turn that up or turn them down. Or if we know that we don't want to use any of that audio, then that's where I'd just come over here and I would mute that entire layer so that we're seeing those clips, but we're not hearing any audio that was associated with them. Now, 2 last things. If you want to fade your audio in or out, then we can easily do that here when you put your mouse over your clip that has audio with it. So a music file, sound effect, or even your primary footage here. If it's got music or sound with it, you can see that we got this little ball that shows up here, this little circle. And this shows up at the start and at the end of a clip. If we click and drag on that little circle, then we can add a fade at the start or the end of our video. And how far we drag it is how long that fade is going to happen for. So if we want our fade to happen here over this small amount of time, then we release it there. Now we can also do this up the top here as well with the clip selected. You can see that we've added the fade in and it went for half a second. We can also do the same here for a fade out at the end for about the same time. So it's exactly the same as grabbing that circle there. The last thing I want to mention, if you want some more advanced controls with your volume levels, then that's when you can use keyframes to do that, but I'll be covering that in a separate video around using keyframes. Now, for those of you that want to really dial stuff in and have more control over things like your effects, over your transitions, and over your volume levels, then that's when you can use keyframes here inside of CapCut to help you do that. So I'm going to show you how keyframes work. I'm going to be showing you by manually adjusting volume levels throughout different sections of an audio clip, but the principles behind keyframing and what I'm going to show you here, you can apply to other areas like your effects and transitions and other areas too here inside of CapCut. So I'm going to come down the bottom here, select on our music clip, and then up the top corner here, we can see all the things we can control in relation to that clip. And obviously that changes with the different clips and types of clips that you click on. But coming back to our music, you can see that we can adjust our volume levels up here across the entire clip. So this slider adjustment, it's applying to the entire clip down here. But if we wanted more granular control over this and we wanted to increase the volume in some parts, lower it in others, that becomes very clunky to do if we're not using keyframes. So let's say, for instance, that throughout this section of the video here, we wanted our volume level for the music even lower than it was before. So let's move our playback head here to where we want the volume to start dropping. And we're going to come up here and we're going to add in a keyframe at that point. So a keyframe is essentially a marker saving the settings that you've made at that point. So we're going to hit on this button here, and then down in our timeline here, you can see that we've got a keyframe added at that point. But you'll see how this works as we go through. Now let's come across a little bit further here in our project, and let's come up here and add in another keyframe. Now, no other adjustments have been made yet. So right now, if we played this through, it would be the consistent volume level across that section. But because we've added a keyframe here at this point, we can now make adjustments to the volume in this case at that point. So if I lower the volume here now, you can see what's happening in the timeline. So our volume level is consistent from the start of the video right through till we've hit the first keyframe. And then we've said at the next keyframe, the volume level should be at this level. And that volume level then has adjusted between those two keyframes. Let me zoom in on this to make it a bit easier to see. So our volume level at this point is at -5.3 until we hit that keyframe. And then between this keyframe and this keyframe, the volume is lowering until it hits the point that we set. So as we scrub through this now, you can see it's dropping until we hit that keyframe where it's -22.9 in this case. And if we keep scrubbing through here now, it stays at that. That's now the new normal at that point from that keyframe onwards. Now let's say that we wanted the volume level at that point until we get to about here. And then we want it to start coming back up to where it was before. So we go ahead and add a keyframe here. And in this case, it's almost like the end point of where we want the volume to be at this lower level. Let's come across a little bit further and say at this point, we want it to be back where it was before, or back at a higher volume level. We'll add in another keyframe here and we will increase the volume. Now we could do it again with this slider. We could also come down here and we can adjust it from here too. So let's say that we wanted this at -6 at this point. Then you can see from this point on, that's now the new volume level. So if we were to play through this now, the music level would be louder at this point. It would then turn down for all of this section and then be turning back up until it hits this keyframe. And then it's at that new volume level for the remainder of the video. And we can go ahead and add in as many keyframes as we want. So we could be moving the volume up in different sections, down in other sections. That's the level of control that keyframes will give you. But as I said earlier, this doesn't just apply to music and to volume levels. This applies to most effects and controls that you have here in CapCut. So for instance, let's pick this title here where it says related. If we just start looking at the options up here that have the keyframe next to them, these are things that we can animate or change over time. So we could change the color of our text. We can change the size and scale. We can change the position, the rotation. So maybe we'll change the position here. So let's come back to the start of our clip here, this text layer, and let's move our text here. So position, let's move it across to the left a little bit. So maybe it could start about here. Now let's add a keyframe for position at that point, because that's what we're going to animate. So we've got a keyframe here that's saying at that point, make the settings for position exactly as we've set them here. Now let's come across a little later on this same clip, maybe towards the end of it, and let's make an adjustment and let's make another keyframe and let's adjust the position of this so that the clip moves from one side of that box to the other. All right, so we've set a position for this keyframe, we've set a position for this keyframe. So now if we play it related to your video content, so we've now got that text animating or transitioning between those two values, between those two keyframes that we've set. So any setting that has a keyframe option here on the side, this is something that we can add some manual control or adjustment over. Now, when it comes to color correcting, color grading, or applying different looks to our video footage here in CapCut, as with everything else, there's a few different ways that we can do this. So I want to run through those options now, whether you're looking for a simple fix or whether you're someone that wants to dive into some more advanced features and controls in here. So we want to select the first clip here in our timeline and move our playback indicator head here to a place where we can preview that clip. Again, it's much easier to apply everything to the first clip, and then we can add it to the other clips after that. So with that first clip selected, there is a couple of different ways that we can approach this. So the first way is by adding filters to your video. So think of these like Instagram filters or preset looks that we can add to change the look and feel of our videos. So with that clip selected, if we come up the top here to filters, then you can see that we have a lot in here to choose from. And just by clicking on them, no one's going to see it. So you need to get your content. It's going to preview your clip and show you what it looks like with this filter applied. No one's going to see it. So you need to get your content. No one's going to see. Maybe we'll move the playback head here back to the start of the clip, and let's try this. You could have the world's best video, but if no one clicks, you could have the world's best. You could have the world's. Okay, that's not very good. You could have the world's. Okay, that's not bad. So if we look at this as, this is with this effect applied, candy cane in this case, and if we look at what it looked like before, this is the original footage. So let's apply that again. You could have the world. Okay, it's a big difference already. So the idea here is that you want to go through and maybe check out some of these filters and see if there is something that fits close to what it is you're looking for. And by all means, if there's something that you find that you like the look of, then your color grading here is as simple as hitting the plus or dragging this down onto your clip, and that effect is now applied. Now with this clip selected here, we can come over here to video, and under basics, we're now seeing that filter that has been applied. So we've got here candy cane. If we want to remove it, we can press the trash can there and that will take it off. But we can also adjust the strength of this filter. So if we want to dial it back a little bit, then we can just click and drag and lower the strength or the intensity of it. So that to me is actually looking pretty good. And if we want to quickly preview before and after, then we can enable that filter on or off here. So that's the original, and that's with the filter applied. Now, if we want to dial this in even further, or we wanted to color grade or color correct without applying a filter, then that's where we want to jump over to this adjustment area here. So again, we've got a clip selected. We come over here to adjustments, and there's a bunch of color tools in here. Some of these tools are actually really professional and stuff that you would find on pro-grade video editing software. What I'm going to do first is come back over here to video. I'm going to delete this candy cane effect here. So we're starting from scratch. This is our raw footage, and I'm going to show you the tools to look at first off for adjusting the colors and making sure that everything is how you want it to look. So again, we're on our first clip. We come up here to adjustments, and then this is broken down into three areas: basic, HSL, and curves. So HSL and curves, we are not going to be covering off in this training. Those are more advanced tools, but by all means, if that's something that you're into, then feel free to jump in and have a play around. You can see the level of control and adjustments that you can make in here at a really granular level. Let's go ahead and undo that. But if we come back over here to basic, and then we start to scroll down, these are your primary color grading adjustments that I'd be looking at. So you can see as we scroll down, you've got things like your color temperature, the saturation, so the amount of color in your shot, brightness, contrast, shadow control. We can adjust the sharpness in here as well. So where I'd recommend that you start with this is, first off, we want to make sure that our exposure is set correctly so that our shot is as bright as it needs to be. So the first adjustment I'd be making here is with this brightness slider. I'd be grabbing this adjustment and I'd be increasing it if I needed to make the shot brighter. I'd be decreasing it if the shot was already too bright. And if we want some more granular adjustments here, then we can just use the up and down arrows here. So maybe I'll take this down a little bit. After I've got the brightness set right, I want to make sure that I have the white balance or the color temperature set the way that I'd like it. And again, this is a creative thing. There is no right or wrong. Making adjustments here can change the vibe or the feel of your videos too. So color temperature here is the next one. If we drag this slider to the left, it's going to make our shot cooler or add more blue. If we go the other way, it's going to add more yellow, orange, make our shot feel warmer. So maybe we'll add just a little bit more warmth here in this case. Now, if your shot's looking a little green or a little pink, maybe because of the lights that you've used in your scene, or maybe because of your camera settings, we can adjust that here. So you can see that if we want to add more green, we can move this to the left. Likewise with the pink, we can add it by dragging to the right. In a lot of cases, you might find that this setting is fine without adjusting that. Now from there, the setting I'd adjust next is the contrast one. So you can see if we want to make our shot more contrasty, so darken the dark areas of the shot and bring out some more color, then we want to increase the contrast. But you see, you don't want to go too overboard with this. So it's all about making these minor adjustments here, maybe somewhere around here. And then after I've done the contrast, this is where I would look at the saturation here. So the amount of color that's in our shot. So if we want to amplify or boost the colors, then we would increase this here. If we want to remove some colors and even go in black and white, we could go the other extreme here as well. So maybe I'll increase these a little bit, maybe 7 or 8. And those are the main settings that I'm going to be playing with. Obviously, there's some others in here as well if you'd like to tweak things further, but normally those are the critical ones. So for a quick preview before and after, we can turn off this adjustment here. That's going to unapply those settings or changes we've made. So it's currently disabled. So this is as it was in its original form. And this is with the adjustments that we've made. Now, what I like here is that there's 2 extra buttons. One of them here is apply to all, and that will go through and apply this look or these changes to the other clips in our timeline here. So that's this button here. The other one will add it to our brand kit and essentially save this as a preset for us to use later or for us to manually apply on a clip by clip basis. So if I go here, add to brand kit, we can give this a name. So I'm just going to call it JB Test Adjustment, and you can see it's going to add it into our CapCut space. So to use this feature, you will need to be signed in, even with a free account, which is what I have here, but this will save this preset and these settings to your account for you to use later. So I'm going to choose OK. Now that's now saved to our brand kit. Now I will show you how you can find and apply those very, very soon. But generally what I would do here is just hit apply to all so that these adjustments applied to the remaining clips here in the timeline. Now we do have the ability to jump in on a clip by clip basis and make further adjustments. So if you've got some B-roll here that you want to make an adjustment to, click on that clip, come over here to adjustments, and you can dial in the settings for that specific clip too. Now there's one other way that we can actually apply these color adjustments to our projects too, and this is using adjustment layers. So if we come up here to adjustment and we select here on custom adjustment and we drag this down into our timeline, so this shows up exactly the same as we could for an effect, for a title, for essentially a video clip as well. And we can make adjustments to this clip area, but any adjustments or changes that we apply to this adjustment area, this clip here, will actually apply to any of the clips that are underneath this. So with this adjustment layer here selected, just to show you how this works, let's make it blue. So if we click through our video now, everything under this now has that same look applied to it. But if we go beyond that, then we're back to normal. And this is a clip as well that we could copy and paste. We could duplicate. So maybe we will copy this. Let's right click. Let's choose copy. Let's come down the end of our project here and let's right click and choose paste. And let's just have it cover the end of our project here. So that look or these effects are applied just to this last section of that clip. So it's about knowing the tools that you have access to in here, because sometimes it's going to make sense to apply things to a clip by clip basis. Other times it might be much quicker for you to add these adjustments to an adjustment layer and drag it out across the length of the clip that you want that effect associated with. Now, in terms of applying those presets that we saved, or those brand kits that we saved, this is how we do that too. So we can come up here to adjustments, and then we've got presets in here, and we've got our saved presets in this area. So let's go ahead and remove these adjustment layers that we added in this video. And let's say that this is the adjustment that we want to apply. We can just drag that down, and it's already got our settings from earlier, or from when we created this preset, brought in onto this clip too. Once we've finished editing down our video, it's time to save it out. So it's a good idea to play through your video first and make sure that everything is how you want it. And then you want to come up the top right-hand corner here to where it says export. We want to click on that. In here, we can give our video a name. So thumbnail images was the content that we've got here in this video. Maybe we'll put V1. This is version 1 of this. We then get to choose where we're going to save our file out to. So in this case, just the desktop is going to be fine. And then from here, if we'd set up our project correctly, then all of these settings here should be good to go, in that we shouldn't need to make any further adjustments to them. So our project here was set to 1080p, and that's the file that we're going to save out. Our footage was 30 frames per second, and that's what we're saving out here too. But we can customize this stuff up here if we need to. So if you wanted to change the resolution, you can hit this drop down and you can pick a different size here. For best results, ideally you're matching whatever footage you shot in your camera, whatever your camera settings were, should have matched your editing project, your editing timeline, should match what you're going to be exporting. That's kind of a general rule. But obviously if you need something specific, a lower quality version, then you can pick that in here too. We're going to leave this as 1080p. The bitrate though, this is the quality of the video that you're going to be saving. So we've got options in here for lower, recommended, higher, and customized. Now, usually recommended or higher is where I would recommend that you leave this on. But obviously, if you do need something that is a specific file size, then you can customize this up. If we hit here, customized, we can adjust the quality here. So a lower number is a smaller file size, but it's also a smaller file. So I'm going to switch this back here to higher, and we can see down the bottom here, it's giving us an estimated file size for this as well. So it's estimating that our video here is going to be 176 megabytes at this setting. If we did switch this to recommended, you can see it's dropped a little bit. If we set it to lower, then it's much lower, but obviously it's lower quality at that point. But this could be useful if you are using a customized bitrate or quality setting, and you'd like to estimate how big that file is going to be. Let's leave this here at higher. We also have the ability here to change up the video codec. So H.264 again is the default. That's where I'd imagine most people are going to want to leave this. But if for whatever reason you want to switch over to an HEVC codec, a high efficiency video codec, you can do that here. Or if you want to export at the highest quality possible here out of CapCut, then that's where you're likely going to be using one of these ProRes files if it's supported on your device or computer. But generally with these, the file sizes will be much bigger. So for me, I usually leave this on H.264. I leave the format at MP4. Your frame rate should already be set, but obviously if we need to change that, we can change it at this point too. But we also have the ability here to not just export the video. If we wanted to save out an MP3 as well, or an audio file, then we can check this box here to export audio, and we can choose the type of audio file we want. Now this is in addition to, this isn't in place of, you're still going to get the video file if you've got this selected. But likewise, if you only want to export an audio file, you could uncheck video here, check export audio, and you would only get an audio file. In this case, we just want the video. I'm going to uncheck this. There is also an option here to run a copyright check if you are using some of CapCut's stock footage or stock music or sound effects in your edit, then it's probably a good idea to run this copyright check. But it does say here it's only going to flag potential issues if you're going to be posting on CapCut. So from there though, we just need to hit export down the bottom here, and that's going to export here. That's going to save out a video. There you go. It was instant. It is super quick for exporting videos. But it will then prompt you, do you want to share this video directly from CapCut here to places like TikTok or to YouTube? Now, while you can do that from the app here, what I'd recommend that you're doing instead is just going and finding that video that you just saved out, playing it back, making sure that it is how you want it first before you go ahead and upload it to those platforms. So what I would recommend in this place is that we're just hitting cancel out of this last step of sharing once we've verified that it's how we want it and that we're happy with it. In this video, I'm going to show you how easy it is here inside of CapCut to reformat and repurpose your content for other platforms. So we've got our 16:9 or widescreen video here that we've created for YouTube. I'm going to show you how we can repurpose this video for something like TikTok, for Instagram Reels, or for YouTube Shorts. So the first thing I'd say that you want to make sure you've got is a backup of your original project here, so that any changes we make, we could come back to this one if we needed to. So let's come up the top here to where it says CapCut, and we want to choose back to homepage. So we want to go back to that initial screen that opens up when you open up the app. And what we want to do is duplicate that project so that we have a backup of it. So this is our project here. I'm going to hit the three little dots and I'm going to choose duplicate. So this is it here now. We can see that it's got the word copy at the end of it. Now we can rename this. We can hit the three little dots again. Let's choose rename and let's just call this portrait. So we'll end up with a widescreen version of it, which was the original, and we'll create a portrait version of this. Now let's go ahead and open up the new version and let's quickly verify that it does say the right project name at the top here. But then in terms of actually changing the format of this, we want to come down here where it says here for me, custom. Now for you, it could say original, it could say 16:9, it could say any of these formats here. But you want to click here in this area because this is where we can change up our format. So I'm going to switch it here from customized, which was 16:9, and I'm going to now choose a portrait resolution here, so 9:16. And we can see that that's changed our project here for us, and it's automatically scaled our footage here so that it fits within that frame. So that's the easiest way to do it. You can also come over here to modify and you can change the aspect ratio here. again from 16:9 to 9:16. So it's essentially the exact same setting there. But what you'll have more control over in here is the resolution, so the quality of that. So the default here is adapted, and that's where I'd recommend that you leave it. But if you did need to dial up the quality or change to a specific resolution, then that's where you can hit customize and you can type in the resolution that you need. I'm going to leave this back here as adapted, and we're going to close out of this. Once that's done, essentially what we're going to do next is go through and resize or reframe everything so that it looks good on this new format. On the mobile version of CapCut, there is an auto reframe feature now, so we'll automatically adjust this for you and scale every clip up and make it look good automatically. At the time of filming this, that feature is not available on desktop yet, but hopefully it will be out soon. From here, we now want to go through and scale everything up and position our clips so that it looks good in this new format. Because if we click through a few of them here, you'll see that our formatting and everything is now not where we want it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select all of our primary footage here, and then we can come up here to scale and we can scale this up. Now we want to make sure that it fits the entire frame. We don't want any black bars on the top or the bottom. So just around there. And then we can adjust the X and Y position here if we need to, or we can click and drag to reposition the clips. And this has now applied that to all of our clips here that we selected. But then it's a good idea to go through each clip here quickly and just see if you need to make any minor adjustments. So this first clip here, I'm a little bit off center. So I'm going to select on this clip and I'm just going to click and drag across a little bit. So it's how I want it. Let's take a look at the next clip. This one's actually lower, so maybe we zoomed in even further on this one. Let's position this up here and let's zoom in further on this one so that it breaks up our shot from the previous clip.
Help you with this, you need to make...
So go through, make adjustments to your primary footage here. Maybe this one here will move across a little bit as well. And this last one is good. Next, we're going to do the B-roll or overlay footage, exactly the same. So let's select all of that. Let's move this playback head to where we can see it, and let's scale this up as well. And then I would go through on a clip by clip basis and move stuff around. So this one here for some reason is much lower. Let's pick this up here and let's play that clip.
So you need to get your content clicked on, and that's when your thumbnail strategy is so important.
So this one here, we want to show an actual thumbnail image. Let's make this a bit bigger then, maybe something like that. Let's take a look at our next clip here. So it's scrolling down, but it's chopped off at the top. So let's select this. Let's make the adjustment to that. Maybe we'll show the first line of thumbnails here.
Images are grabbing people's attention.
And the same for the next one. Let's click on this and let's move it to what we want to show here on screen.
The image also needs to be related to your video content. So
this one here, I'm going to move across. Once your B-roll's done, then we'll move through and adjust the text and the stickers after that. So with all of our text here, maybe we want to make all of it bigger. So again, we could select all of our text here and let's scale it all up in one go. Something like this. Looks okay for that one. Let's check how it looks for the next one. Okay, this one's probably too big. So let's make thumbnail strategy a little bit smaller. Let's take a look at the next one, grabbing people's attention and look good small. Let's select all three of these and let's move them all over a little bit. And maybe make these ones a little bit smaller as well. Maybe something like this. And then obviously we adjust our stickers as well. So let's scale this one up.
No one's going to see it. So you need to get your content.
Let's select all of these to do it all in one go. Let's point to this thumbnail image and maybe we'll make the finger pointing even bigger. Let's play this now.
So you need to get your content clicked on, and that's when your...
So obviously we go through and we make the rest of those adjustments. Now, if you want to add captions to your videos as well, CapCut makes that super easy, because for this type of content, you'd normally have captions or text on screen. So let's come up here to text, and then down here, we've got here auto captions. Let's click on that. We're going to select our language here. Let's choose create. It's going to go through, analyze what's been said in the video, and it's going to automatically create captions for us. So if we scroll through this now, you can see that we have those captions on screen. Now, obviously they're going to need some customization here so that we can see them. Maybe they need to be a lot bigger. There'll be some areas of our video like this one here where we don't need to have the captions on screen because we've added our own titles at this point. So let's just pick an area here in the middle where we can see some of our titles, and let's select one of them, and then we can start to customize this up, because whatever changes we make here to one of these titles or captions, it's going to apply to all of them. So let's make the font bigger, maybe something like this. Maybe we will adjust the position a little higher. We've got our color here that we can adjust, our font. We can change the styles of them here as well. Maybe we'll add in a background. So let's just take a quick look at this now. So we've now got text that's easy to read across the entire video, and we might need to reposition some things that are going to be covered up by that text. But the idea here is that we've got the bulk of this text here looking good. Okay, so this look good small, it definitely needs to be up higher now. So we'll select those and let's just move it up higher so that it's shown on screen without our captions covering it up. So at the start here where we've already got our own text, maybe we will select this first one and press delete to remove the first one, potentially a second one here as well. Let's remove that one. So our video is now going to start like this.
You could have the world's best video, but if no one clicks on it, no one's going to see it. So you need to get your content clicked on.
All right, so this is looking pretty good. Now you can also add animations to the text here as well. So let's just pick again one of our titles here. We can come up here to our settings and controls. And in here, we've got some templates that you can use. Let's click on this one here. And now you'll see that it's actually highlighting green or animating the text so that your viewers can follow along with what's actually been said at that time. There's some other looks and effects up here as well. So these are some bubble effects. If we actually come over here to effects themselves, then again, we're able to customize this up in a great level of detail. But I'm going to undo these last few changes that we made here. And if we come up here to animation, then this is how we can choose how this text is animated onto the screen. So instead of it just appearing, we could say have it fly on screen like this one. Or slide up. Or pop up. So that's how easy it is to quickly reformat and repurpose your content for different platforms and for different formats. Now, the area that I've seen change the most over time with CapCut is the main tools area on the homepage when you first open up the app. At the top of that screen, they're progressively rolling out new tools, new features, new AI functionality to help you take your video creation to the next level. And yes, this is something that is changing fast. So at the time of shooting this video, here's what we currently have access to. And yes, you'll likely see this change over time. The first one is script to video, meaning that we can either type in our own script here, or we can use their AI writer, as they call it, to write a script for us. Now, when we've got a script in there, whether it's one that we've written or whether it's one that AI has generated for us, we can then use that to help us create our video. We can either use it with CapCut's built-in teleprompter, so it's going to help us shoot our videos because we're going to have our text or our script written there on our screen, or we can actually process that script in CapCut and it'll go ahead and it will create a video for us. So let's just say, for instance, we choose here tech info. And the example I've got here is top reasons to use CapCut. Create a video that is around 1 minute. Let's hit generate script down the bottom here. It's going to go ahead and create us a video script. Here we go. That's done really, really quickly. And there's 3 versions of this script that we could choose from. We can obviously modify it, make changes and things too. Let's hit generate video. And then we've got the choice of smart generation, which is where it's going to use CapCut's media library to add stock photos and videos and things into an edit for us, or we can actually go through and we can locate files on our device. I'm going to choose smart generation here. It says this may take some time. In my experience, this has been crazy fast. So that's done. Let's just hit play and see what it's made.
Welcome to our CapCut discussion. CapCut is a powerful and user-friendly video editing app that lets you create stunning videos with ease. Today, we're going to highlight the top reasons.
So it's written the script. It's created a voiceover for us from that script. It's put the text on screen. It's gone through and found some stock photos from CapCut's library. I mean, hey, it's created a faceless video for us here. So we can make basic changes to it here on this screen, or we can come up the top to edit more, and that's going to transfer this project here over to the main CapCut interface where we can edit it further. I'm going to hit the cross at the top left to get back out of this. So that's script to video. That one's pretty powerful. There's also now a built-in photo editor. There's also an AI image generator, this text to image in here. Let's just tap on this one. And the example here is a pink car, poster in the style of minimalism, side view of the car, filmic texture, low contrast film, INS style. And you can see the images here that is generated. We've got another example here down the bottom, macro photography, photorealistic, no people. Let's just hit generate on this and see what comes up from this prompt. And obviously we can type in our own prompt here to generate images that we're looking for. And this is what's come back. And you saw that in real time. Like, this is pretty quick. It's back out of this now. So there's an image generator in here as well. There's also auto cut. So think of this like template-based video editing. If we press on auto cut now, it's then going to prompt us to select a few clips and things from our device, and then it's going to automatically edit those for us. Now, personally, I stay away from these templates and things, and the fact that you're here on this training means that you're at a more advanced level than most of the people that are probably using these templates. But going back here, the last one here I am a big fan of. The camera app here built into CapCut. In a lot of cases, it's going to give you more controls, more features and things than the built-in camera app on your device. But it can also help you streamline your video creation process because it's got things like a built-in teleprompter, but also because it's directly the same app that you're going to be editing your videos in as well. So you can shoot and edit really, really fast here without needing to go through multiple apps. So straight away down the bottom, you can see that we get the choice of multiple clips or one shot. So one shot would be more like a traditional camera where we can just hit record and it's going to record for as long as we'd like. The multiple clips is more like you would have on Instagram or on TikTok, where you can create your videos in chunks. Up the top right though, this is where we can access your teleprompter. So you can see we've got the text here on screen that we could read out when we're recording, so we can see what our notes are to help us record our videos quicker. We can pick this up, we can move it around, we can adjust font size, all of that stuff in here as well. And obviously there's direct access here to that AI script generator. So if you need help writing your script, then all of this here ties together. We can press the X to close out of that. We've got speed control. There is filters and looks and things that we can apply on here too. I'd recommend that you adding those afterwards in your editing, but you've got the ability to add them on here too. And we've also got some control over the quality here. So you can see that we can go down to 576p. We've got 1080p and we've got 720p in here as well. So I do think that's a cool addition, especially if you just need a couple of quick pickup shots while you're actually editing down your videos. If you forgot to say something or you need a quick grab of something, then having that as a built-in function is pretty cool, especially with that teleprompter built in. So again, these apps and tools and things will be changing constantly. And I think CapCut uses this as almost like a testing ground for new features and things before they bring them into the app, into the actual editing place. So I think it's cool that we can jump in, we can test these things out. And so far, there's quite a few things that have made it from here and are now core functionality built into CapCut itself. Now, whether you're looking to work with remote video editors, remote teams to help you make videos, or maybe you're looking to transfer your projects between different devices, this is where CapCut's cloud-based workflow can really help out. Now, this is something that they are actively building and is still relatively new right now. But even in its current state, it works really well. So let's take a look. Now this will work on both mobile and desktop, and you will need to go ahead and create a free CapCut account so that you've got access to this functionality. So we can see straight away that I am signed in. If you're not seeing this, then there'll be a sign in button up here where you can go ahead and create a free account. But then what we're seeing here now is not just our projects area, we're also seeing this spaces area. And a space is really where we can access this cloud-based workflow, this cloud storage. So we can go ahead and create one here by pressing create or join. So we can create a space, we can give it a name. So temp space in this case, let's choose create and invite members. We're then given a unique link here that we can send out to team if we want them to come and join this space and be able to access our files and presets and everything that we put in this space. And then we can see that space here over on the left. So this then gives us the ability here where we can upload media. So any of our files or assets or anything that we want to use in videos, but also we can upload our projects as well. And we also have the ability here to turn on automatically upload our projects here as a backup even. So even if you're not looking for a collaborative workflow, you can have your projects automatically back up here, meaning that you can access them on different devices as well. So you could start an edit on your phone, finish it on your desktop, and vice versa. Now this free account that we've got access to here, it does give you 1 GB of storage right now. So to increase that amount of storage, that's where you'll need to upgrade or jump on the pro plan of CapCut. But I've got another folder here that's already set up and working. And in here, I've had a few different test projects that I've transferred between different devices. I've transferred between Mac and PC. I've transferred between iPhone and Android, and also from phone to desktop too. And we can quickly see here that this project here is already on this computer. These other 3 here aren't on this computer. They're up in the cloud. They're in this space here. And we can just hit the download button here for them to download to the computer so that we can open them up, make changes, and then send projects back to the cloud when we're done. The other thing that's worth noting, if we come back to our home area here, we can transfer our existing projects up to the cloud as well, to our space for collaboration, for backup, for transferring to different devices. All we need to do is press the three little dots here and we choose upload, and that's going to go ahead and upload that project for us to CapCut's cloud. And then on any of our devices where we're logged into this account, or we're on a different account that has access to a shared space here, then we can see, we can view, we can download, we can open, we can edit those projects from there. The last point I think is worth noting, especially if you are going to have a collaborative workflow, is that when you open up a project from the cloud, it's actually downloading a temporary version of that, or a unique version of that. So whatever changes you make, you can choose whether you want to push those back to the cloud and overwrite the original. You could push your project back with your changes as a separate project, so not to overwrite the original as well. But it's not true collaboration in the sense of multiple people working on the same project at the same time. It's collaborative in a sense that it's easy to transfer these projects between different systems, but it's still limited to one person using a project at a time. If you're looking to add in AI voiceovers into your projects, or even an AI avatar, an AI character to read out your scripts, CapCut makes that so easy. That's what we're looking at in this video. Now, this process will work on both mobile and desktop. I'm showing you on desktop. So we've got a new project here that's been created. We just want to come up the top here to text. And then we're going to grab one of these default text boxes here and just drag it down into our timeline. Whatever we type into this box here is what the AI is going to use to generate a voiceover or a character. So I'm going to go ahead and just paste in some text. It's a small piece of a much longer video script. And we can see that with that in here, we don't need to worry about formatting or how this text looked. We can actually hide the text here if we'd like to. We don't need to see it, but I'm going to leave it here for now. We then want to come over here to text to speech. And in here, there are so many different voices that we can use. And when we click on them, it's going to give us a preview of that voice.
When we were first creating Primal Video Accelerator, Mike and I
It kind of sounds like the TikTok voice. Let's keep going. Good guy.
When we were first creating Primal Video Accelerator.
Let's keep going down. Maybe we would choose confident male.
When we were first creating Primal Video Accelerator, Mike and I reflected on the most valuable courses and programs that we've been involved.
Sounds like an Australian accent. Energetic male.
When we were first creating Primal Video Accelerator, Mike and I reflected on the most valuable courses and programs.
Energetic female.
When we were first creating Primal Video Accelerator, Mike and I
How about narrative female?
When we were first creating Primal Video Accelerator, Mike and I reflected on the most valuable courses and programs.
So you get the idea. There's some amazing voices in here. Now, there are some that are, I guess, a bit more quirky. This one is actually called quirky. There's also some that are singing as well. So we got like a kid vocalist.
When we were first creating Primal Video...
Okay. I don't need to say any more on that one, but you get the idea. Now, when we want to apply this, let's go back to confident male. We then just want to hit this start button down here, and that's going to go ahead and that's going to process our script here, and it's going to generate that into an audio file for us. So we can now delete this if we needed to, or hide it because it's no longer needed. We've then got this audio file here that we can then edit and add extra footage and B-roll and everything too. So I'll just play this quickly.
When we were first creating Primal Video Accelerator, Mike and I reflected on the most valuable course.
So pretty powerful. Now we can take this one step further. This is generating audio, so just the voice, but they now have included in CapCut AI avatar or character as well. So let's go ahead and delete this. Let's come back up here to our text. Let's select on that. Again, we can type in whatever text we want here, but instead of coming to text to speech, let's go to AI characters. And then if we scroll through here, there's so many different AI avatars or characters that we can pick here to read out our script and be the host of our video. I'm going to pick a couple of random ones here.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you.
So even with, say, this character here, there's a few different looks or outfits or poses from this person.
Hey, good to see you. Hey, good to see you.
So this way, I guess if you're creating multiple videos with one of these characters, they don't all need to look exactly the same. We've got a younger guy up here as well.
Hey, good to see you.
Click this one.
Hey, good to see you.
Okay, walking along.
Hey, good to see you.
I like that the hands and everything are moving as well. Okay, maybe we'll go with this guy here.
Good to see you.
So once we've picked out our person here, we just hit add. That's going to go ahead. It's going to generate the speech first off for us in that voice. And then it's going to go through and it's applying or animating that character for us. So we can see that's the second level here that's happening. Okay, that's done. I'm going to go ahead and just hide this top layer. Just press the little eyeball here to hide that track so we're not seeing the text. And we've got here our video, our character. Let's give this a quick play.
When we were first creating Primal Video Accelerator, Mike and I reflected on the most valuable courses and programs.
Pretty damn amazing. Okay, now this is as well, this is transparent video. So we can scale this up. We could move it around if we needed to. We could even go ahead and add in a background for this as well. So we could add this on top of our existing video, or we could add in a background below it. I'm just gonna come up here to media, down to library. Let's just grab a clip from CapCut's media library here. Just scroll down. Maybe we will search for a city. And let's see what this one looks like. Okay, this could work. All right, so we'll drag this one here down into our timeline. We're gonna drag it down below our primary layer. And we can now see that we've got our character here on top of our background.
When we were first creating Primal Video Accelerator, Mike and I reflected on...
Okay, so maybe the walking doesn't work for this one. So we could go back and we could generate a character without the walking, but you get the idea that we now have this character that's presenting our content for us, and we have a lot of creative control over what we can do with this. Like we could scale it down, could be a much smaller version down here. There is so much we can do with this. Now this is something that is evolving fast and has already changed so much in the few weeks leading up to me shooting this training. So yeah, I'm pumped to see where they take it. So there's a cool new feature in CapCut, which is AI-based text editing. So we've got a clip in the timeline here now. And what we're gonna do is run through and we're gonna transcribe it. So we're gonna get the CapCut AI to listen to what's been said, to write it all out, and then we can edit from text. Now this is something that they originally rolled out as free, but it's now just moved as a pro feature. But I'm gonna show you how it works. So we wanna select here with our clip selected, this little button here, remove filler words. And we get this window here pop up. So it's already gone through, it's transcribed it, is that quick. And it's suggesting some edits or some cuts here for us. So you can see these areas here, if we're just looking at the audio waveform, so the times that I'm speaking, it's got these empty spaces here that it's pulled out that we can remove. So we can see here that there's a pause for 2.6 seconds. There's another pause here, another pause here. And if we select on these, we can see where they actually are. And over on the side here, we can also see everything that has been said. So we can see at the start, I said, all right, we are recording. Like we can get rid of this. Let's just check that box here to remove it. Let's check the microphone, 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's get rid of all of this. Even the testing, 1, 2, like all of this sort of filler stuff at the start, we can just select this here to remove. Obviously we can edit the normal way as well, but this process here can remove pauses, anything that's been repeated. So if I'm changing what I've said or I'm doing another take or another attempt, it's going to do a good job of detecting those here. And also any filler words like so, it can detect and remove those as well. So if we come over here to repeats, these are all the areas here it thinks that I have repeated. And you can see that it's already suggesting that we remove those. Now the beauty of this is we could just use it to remove the pauses. So if we just wanted the pauses here, so any of the dead space here, then we could just select all of these and go ahead and delete, and it's going to do that for us. So we don't have to use all of these three things, but what I do think is really powerful is the way that I shoot my videos. I try to make the last take, the last attempt when I'm saying something, the best one, the one that I want to use. So this repeats will detect that in a lot of cases and remove the first few attempts and leave the last one. And likewise with filler words, things like so, I can remove those here too. So it's a matter of selecting here what you would like, pressing delete, and we can see it's gone through and remove all of those sections here and cut our primary video footage down here automatically for us. This can save you a ton of time. Now on mobile, you can do this as well. You just want to select your clip and then come down the bottom here to where it says transcript-based editing. If we press on that, is it going to go through and transcribe our text for us? And we have a very similar interface once that's done. So we can see here that there was a 1.1 second pause here at the start. We can just tap on it, we can press delete, and that piece has already been edited out for us. So we can actually do more in the mobile app right now without needing the Pro account. And we can literally just go through our transcript here, select the text that we don't want, which is obviously corresponding to what's happening in the video. But when we delete the text here, it's actually deleting that section of the video as well. Now, if you do want to access the automatic removal, you can see we've got here, Remove Filler Words Pro. If we press on that, that's going to go through. It's going to analyze our clip to the sections that it thinks we should remove. And then we have the option to delete that down the bottom. But if I back out of this now by hitting that tick, you can see that we have a cut in our timeline here where we removed that section.